Chapter 447. While Zhou Jie was still immersed in the comprehension of the arcane arts, Yifan had already disappeared. When Zhou Jie regained his consciousness and saw that Yifan was no longer there, he could only bow respectfully towards the front. After that, Zhou Jie made another trip to the treasure pavilion and successfully obtained the approval of the chaotic demon sealing lock and brought it out. After walking out of the Six Paths world, Zhou Jie kept the chaotic demon sealing lock. And just when he was about to take a look at the barrier again, his brows twitched and he looked to the left. Where Zhou Jie was looking, the space rippled slightly and a man in white robe walked out. When he saw Zhou Jie, there was a trace of undetectable shock in his eyes. Zhou Jie had met this man before. He was the third disciple of the realm monarch, Su Jingdu. Back then, he was only a Dao fusion cultivator and forced Zhou Jie to back off. But now, in Zhou Jie's eyes, Su Jingdu's cultivation level and strength were not worth mentioning. However, Su Jingdu didn't know this. He only found out that he couldn't see through Zhou Jie's cultivation level when he first saw him, so there was a trace of shock in his eyes. After exchanging a glance with Su Jingdu, Zhou Jie wasn't curious about his appearance. His face was calm as an ancient well, but he turned his eyes slightly and glanced at a position not far from Su Jingdu. He snorted coldly and said, "A mere Dao fusion realm cultivator. Why aren't you showing yourself?" As soon as Zhou Jie said that, Su Jingdu's pupils shrunk, and he couldn't help but take a step back from the sudden burst of power from Zhou Jie's words. At the same time, a bald young man in green robes suddenly appeared a few dozen meters away from Su Jingdu. He stared at Zhou Jie with a pair of evil phoenix eyes. "You're also the realm monarch's disciple?" Zhou Jie didn't care about the young man's ferocious gaze. He just glanced at him and asked indifferently. At this point, Zhou Jie couldn't help but have a suspicion in his heart. Could it be that everything that happened before wasn't done by a transcendent, but by the realm monarch? But let's not talk about whether the world emperor has such strength. How did I provoke him to make him attack me like this? When the green-robed young man heard the question, his eyes narrowed slightly. He looked at Zhou Jie and proudly said, "The eldest disciple of the world emperor, Qing Xuanzi. It really is him." Zhou Jie thought to himself when he heard this, but his expression did not change. He glanced at the two of them and then said, "What is the matter with the two of you?" The reason why Zhou Jie did not ask them how they found him so accurately was very simple. The Universe Emperor's cultivation base had reached the half-step transcendent level long ago. If he was good at karma deduction, it would not be a problem for him to find where and when Zhou Jie would appear. Su Jingdu's eyes flickered when he heard Zhou Jie's question. He seemed to be thinking about something. However, Qing Xuanzi snorted coldly and said, "You killed my fourth junior brother, and you're pretending not to know? Third junior brother, and I have come here on master's orders to kill you." "What did you say?" Zhou Jie frowned when he heard Qing Xuanzi's words. He could not help but ask, I killed the emperor? When did I kill the emperor? I haven't seen him since Su Jingdu saved him from me last time." As soon as Zhou Jie said this, Qing Xuanzi and Su Jingdu were both stunned. But in the blink of an eye, Su Jingdu frowned and said, "Fourth junior brother was confirmed dead by Master 8,000 years ago and pointed out that you are the murderer. Master's deduction can't be wrong, so don't quibble. The world emperor sent you to kill me because of this." Zhou Jie frowned when he heard Su Jingdu's words. He did not understand why the world emperor would frame him for something he did not do. Yes, but that's if you resist by force. If you allow yourself to be captured obediently, then we'll only destroy your body, seal your soul, and take it away to see Master. Qing Xuanzi spoke at a timely moment. When Zhou Jie heard this, he sneered in his heart. He snorted coldly and asked, "The world emperor divined that I would appear here today. Did he not calculate who would die when he sent the two of you here?" Su Jingdu and Su Jingdu's expressions changed when they heard Zhou Jie's words. Qing Xuanzi then said angrily, "You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth." Before he finished speaking, a shocking law of fire burst out from Qing Xuanzi's body. At the same time, An invisible force blasted into Zhou Jie's body, causing his body to shake and his pupils to shrink. This fire can trigger the negative emotions in my heart. Zhou Jie was shocked and could not help but exclaim in surprise. However, due to the difference in soul cultivation, Zhou Jie's eyes quickly narrowed as he suppressed the fire in his heart. At the same time, the heavenly thunder purple phoenix seal instantly formed and suppressed the 49 fire chains formed by Qing Xuanzi. Fire God chain, imprison God and destroy body. Qing Xuanzi felt the power of Zhou Jie's heavenly thunder purple phoenix seal. Without hesitation, he made a hand seal and released this ultimate move. In an instant, the 49 fire chains that Qing Xuanzi had condensed shook at the same time, but an extremely terrifying power of the law of fire erupted, twisting the entire void universe where Zhou Jie was. Even the heavenly thunder purple phoenix seal trembled as if it was about to collapse. Not only that, but the fire in Zhou Jie's heart that he had just suppressed also burst out in an instant, causing Zhou Jie's body to shake again. However, a terrifying light burst out from his eyes. Humph! As the eldest disciple of the Universe Emperor, Qing Xuanzi's strength was indeed impressive. Even Zhou Jie had to be cautious when dealing with his ultimate move. At that moment, Zhou Jie snorted coldly, which also meant that Zhou Jie was serious. He was going to give Qing Xuanzi and Qing Xuanzi a fierce counterattack. Dying, Qing Xuanzi did not realize the seriousness of the matter. He immediately roared, and the 49 fire god chains produced an explosive law of fire, completely destroying the heavenly thunder purple phoenix seal. They rapidly contracted and were about to bind Zhou Jie. However, Zhou Jie did not even blink. However, just as the fire god chains were about to touch him, the surface of his body suddenly changed drastically. His entire body seemed to be swallowed by an ink-like black light, and he only had a human form. In the next instant, the 49 fire god chains surrounded Zhou Jie, and they completely locked down and restrained him along with an entire expanse of space. In the end, they trapped Zhou Jie within them. Seeing this, Qing Xuanzi snorted proudly. He thought to himself that he could not see through this person's cultivation, but his strength was so weak. He must have a treasure to hide his aura. However, just as this thought appeared in Qing Xuanzi's mind, he was horrified to find that the fire god chains that had shrunk into a ball in the distance suddenly broke apart inch by inch. Clusters of black flames soared and quickly annihilated the fire god chains, revealing the pitch-black Zhou Jie within. The surface of Zhou Jie's pitch-black body slowly pulsed like flames. Traces of pale, golden lines quickly appeared, but they were barely visible in the darkness. However, as the pale, golden lines appeared, an extremely terrifying pressure appeared on Zhou Jie's body. As it swept across, it caused the void within a radius of tens of thousands of miles to collapse. This caused Qing Xuanzi and Su Jingdu's expressions to change drastically. They had to resist this destructive pressure with all their strength. What kind of magic is this? How could it be so terrifying? Qing Xuanzi was shocked and panicked. In less than 10,000 years, this person's strength has undergone such a huge change. At the same time, Su Jingdu also exclaimed in his heart. He felt that this was a miscalculation by the Universe Emperor. He was afraid that he had to escape as soon as possible to save his life. Therefore, with a quick thought, Su Jingdu quickly asked Qing Xuanzi to retreat. However, Qing Xuanzi still didn't seem to realize the seriousness of the problem. His expression was uncertain, but he simply said, "I haven't used the item that Master gave me. I don't believe that it can't deal with this person." On the other side, Zhou Jie had used one of the 7 saint techniques, the indestructible demon body. Therefore, he could easily destroy Qing Xuanzi's fire god chains and destroy the void within a radius of tens of thousands of miles. This was the terrifying part of the indestructible demon body. Once this body was used, everything would be destroyed except for this body. Seeing that Qing Xuanzi and Su Jingdu didn't choose to escape, Zhou Jie didn't intend to give them another chance. Instead, he killed them both. As for whether this would make the Universe Emperor hostile, he didn't care. After all, it was the Universe Emperor who wanted to kill him first. Boom! Zhou Jie fully released the power of the indestructible demon body and rushed toward Qin Xuanzi and Su Jingdu. It was quite difficult for Qin Xuanzi and Su Jingdu to resist the pressure of Zhou Jie's indestructible demon body. Seeing that Zhou Jie was charging toward them, Qin Xuanzi took out a purple-black crystal fragment without hesitation and threw it at Zhou Jie. As soon as the purple-black crystal fragment appeared, it immediately displayed a great power. It silently disintegrated the pressure of Zhou Jie's indestructible demon body. Seeing this, Zhou Jie's eyes flashed. He was tempted by the purple-black crystal fragment. The power of the world's law will definitely be helpful for the improvement of my restriction formation. I want this fragment. Chapter 448. The dark purple crystal fragment emitted a mysterious wave, and wherever it passed, the law of space changed. Time and space seemed to be frozen. Zhou Jie moved as fast as lightning. He had used a treasure that he had not used for a long time, the Wanjie Rubik's Cube. The Wanjie Rubik's Cube was an unqualified product made by the ancient divine emperor, but it was still close to the level of the imperial weapon. The key was that it contained the power of the law of the world. For Zhou Jie, it was a very good application treasure. It could help Zhou Jie master the power of the law of the world and deduce inhibition. It could also be used by Zhou Jie to the limit. Realm Lock. The Wanjie Rubik's Cube had 3 major modes, namely Realm Lock, Bewildering World, and Killing World. At this moment, the first mode that Zhou Jie used was Realm Lock. Once the Realm Lock was used, it was completely different from the first time Zhou Jie had used it. The Wanjie Rubik's Cube immediately turned into a pitch-black vortex, and in the blink of an eye, it contended with the fluctuations released by the dark purple crystal. The two of them were evenly matched for a short period of time. However, Zhou Jie could still clearly feel that the power erupting from the dark purple crystal fragment was growing stronger and stronger. It was as if an expanding object was being forcefully restrained, causing the expanding power to continuously accumulate. Once the restraining power was insufficient to contend against it, then the accumulated power would instantly erupt, producing a terrifying, destructive power. Zhou Jie frowned. Then, he rushed toward the Wanjie Rubik's Cube. At the same time, he used his mind, Bewildering World. The black vortex that the Wanjie Rubik's Cube had turned into shook at this time. The moment it flew backward, it directly disappeared into the void. Zhou Jie took out the primitive 8 decapitations and released all the primitive universe flame. In an instant, the primitive universe flame intersected with the explosive power of the dark purple crystal fragment. The two sides annihilated each other. But because the power of the dark purple crystal fragment was invisible, it seemed that only the primitive universe flame was rapidly dissipating and disappearing. At the same time, Zhou Jie formed a seal, and countless blood-red restriction runes appeared in his eyes. As he pointed, a large amount of purple-red restriction power poured out, forming a destructive force that was completely different from the creation attribute world force. It fused with the primeval universe flame and fiercely collided with the power of the dark purple crystal fragment again. But even so, he still couldn't completely suppress the power of the dark purple crystal fragment. Fortunately, Zhou Jie was prepared. Under the full power of the immortal demon body, he punched out with the power of Emperor Yu at the peak of the Tao-breaking realm. Gathering the power of the universe's primitive flames, he finally shattered the expanding power of the dark purple crystal fragment. However, the dark purple crystal fragment still contained a great amount of power. After the expansion force collapsed, it erupted with a contraction force that forcefully pulled Zhou Jie towards it. But in reality, Zhou Jie didn't intend to resist the traction force at all. His eyes of restriction deduced madly, and he quickly saw through the energy of the laws within the dark violet crystal fragment. At the instant he was drawn to the fragment, Zhou Jie's body that should have been compressed suddenly expanded explosively, and he actually transformed into 3 kilometers tall in an instant. Moreover, he grabbed at the dark violet crystal fragment. The reason why Qing Xuanzi and the other man didn't cooperate with the dark purple crystal fragment to attack Zhou Jie wasn't that they were stupid, but because Zhou Jie had cast the bewildering world with the Wanjie Rubik's Cube and enveloped the two of them. As soon as the bewildering world was formed, Qing Xuanzi and the other man immediately fell into an illusory world. The scenery in front of them completely changed, and they lost their sense of direction. In just a few seconds, the two of them couldn't break out, so they couldn't attack Zhou Jie. As for Zhou Jie, when he grabbed the dark purple crystal fragment with one hand, he suddenly felt an extremely terrifying force pulling his left hand crazily, as if it was going to crush his left hand. But Zhou Jie's newly formed indestructible demon body already had the property of being indestructible. Within a certain limit, all the power of laws could be destroyed and then absorbed to restore himself. After the power of the dark purple crystal was suppressed, it was difficult for it to burst out with the power to instantly destroy Zhou Jie's body. Therefore, it could only be grabbed by Zhou Jie and constantly worn down its power to restore his right hand. In this way, Zhou Jie could be said to have subdued the crystal fragment. After solving the problem of the fragment, Zhou Jie's pair of cold eyes looked at the grayish-black fog not far away. That was the place where Qing Xuanzi and the other man were lost, which was also the place where the Wanjie Rubik's Cube opened the bewildering world. World of Death. With a thought from Zhou Jie, the bewildering world of the Wanjie Rubik's Cube suddenly changed. In an instant, countless murderous intents burst out, and all kinds of unexpected attacks madly tried to kill Qing Xuanzi and the other man. However, with the strength of Qing Xuanzi and the other man, because the Wanjie Rubik's Cube's own power of laws was limited, it was difficult for it to cause real damage to them. It could only serve as a temporary obstruction. However, what Zhou Jie wanted was this short period of obstruction. In this way, he would have time to prepare for the final blow, and it would be easier to take down Qing Xuanzi and the other man in one move. First step of the Broken Star River, the formation star map. Zhou Jie pointed his finger, and a large area of the void in front of him suddenly changed. Countless stars appeared, as if the void was infinitely expanded, and a large number of planets were built into it. However, because the distance was too far, the countless planets looked like countless stars. Almost at the same time, Qing Xuanzi and the other man worked together to break the world of death created by the Wanjie Rubik's Cube. The Wanjie Rubik's Cube turned into a black light and was taken back by Zhou Jie. However, after Qing Xuanzi and the other man broke the world, they were horrified to find that they were in an extremely strange starry sky. They were surrounded by bright planets that emitted an extremely powerful power, faintly suppressing them to the point that they felt as if they could not breathe. Zhou Jie looked at Qing Xuanzi and the other man across from him, but the two opposite him could not see Zhou Jie, so they were quite shocked by the changes that happened. While Qing Xuanzi and the other man were still in shock, Zhou Jie raised his finger again, and the dot formation star map that had been brewing for a long time was instantly activated. The countless stars in it suddenly burst out with bright and destructive energy, swallowing Qing Xuanzi and the other man who were caught off guard. A few minutes later, Zhou Jie imprisoned the souls of Qing Xuanzi and the other man and put them into the seal plate. In a flash, he came to the barrier again. He tried to break it again, but to no avail. Zhou Jie could not help but frown. The two disciples of the Universe Emperor can come to the central universe, but I am blocked by this barrier. Moreover, this barrier has been here for a long time. If it blocks everyone from entering and leaving the central universe. Zhou Jie thought about it, but he was not sure if the Universe Emperor had the guts to do so. After all, the strength of a half-step transcendent was already among the top experts in the central universe. There were probably no more than 100 people who could surpass him. No, if the Universe Emperor wants to harm me, he can't stop me from returning to the dimensional universe. After all, He is almost invincible in the dimensional universe. However, in the central universe, there are transcendent true bodies, so he can't be unscrupulous. So, there are indeed transcendent experts who want to harm me? Zhou Jie looked at the impenetrable barrier in front of him and guessed in his heart. He felt that this barrier was very likely only targeted at him and was ineffective against others. After pondering for a moment, Zhou Jie's figure silently disappeared in front of the barrier. When he reappeared, he was already light years away. On a huge life planet, Zhou Jie descended on the peak of one of the snowy peaks. He was dressed in black, which was very eye-catching in the world of ice and snow. Standing at the edge of the snowy peak, the biting cold wind blew in his face. However, when it was about an inch away from Zhou Jie, it disappeared into nothingness. Zhou Jie thought about it and finally made up his mind. He released Su Yoyu from the seal and undid the seal on her body to wake her up. Master! After waking up, Su Yoyu immediately saw Zhou Jie's back. After sensing it, she immediately said respectfully, but there was still a hint of hesitation in her voice. Hearing this, Zhou Jie didn't turn his head. Instead, he closed his eyes and said indifferently, "You can go. Take this." As he spoke, Zhou Jie threw the Wanjie Rubik's Cube to Su Yoyu. This item is called the Wanjie Rubik's Cube. It has my seal that can cover up the goddess battle formula on your body. After you refine this item, you can also use it to trap and kill enemies. Zhou Jie continued. Su Yoyu took the Wanjie Rubik's Cube and looked at Zhou Jie with some resentment. In the end, she gritted her teeth and said, "Thank you, Master, for your gift. Yoyu will leave now." Chapter 449. Zhou Jie remained unmoved. He kept looking at the snowstorm in the distance with an indifferent expression. Su Yoyu took one last deep look at Zhou Jie's back before turning around and leaving with a gloomy expression. The snowstorm on the mountaintop became even stronger. After Su Yoyu left, Zhou Jie continued to be silent for a while. At some point, he flipped his right hand, and a sword-shaped golden light appeared in his palm. It was the heavenly plan sword. In fact, when Zhou Jie attacked Qing Xuanzi and Su Yoyu, he began to use the heavenly plan sword to consciously disturb the law of karma where he was, in order to prevent the universe emperor from finding him again. What should I do next? Standing on the snowy peak, Zhou Jie was confused for the first time. He suddenly did not know what to do next apart from cultivating. The main reason for this was that the barrier had blocked his way back to the dimensional universe. He was unfamiliar with the central universe, and after completing his objective, he naturally had no direction to go back to. If there is really a transcendent expert who wants to harm me, I will die no matter what. However, he only stopped me from leaving the central universe. Could it be that this is an opportunity? Zhou Jie did not plan to continue the conversation. He could not help but think of the various things that had happened recently and guess in his heart. On the other side, after Su Yoyu left the snowy peak where Zhou Jie was, she did not leave the huge planet of life. Instead, she opened a cave abode in a primitive canyon 1,000,000 miles away from Zhou Jie and temporarily settled down. Zhou Jie noticed Su Yoyu's actions but did not pay attention to it. Instead, he was thinking hard about what to do next. About half a minute later, Zhou Jie still did not have a definite plan. However, he did not want to stay on this planet of life any longer. Therefore, he shook his head slightly and was about to leave. However, at this moment, Zhou Jie's expression changed. At the same time, the space-time around Zhou Jie was completely frozen. Even Zhou Jie's expression froze at that moment. But in the next moment, black and gold flames burst out from Zhou Jie's body. He had used the Saint technique indestructible demon body to forcefully break free from the suppression of space and time around him, allowing him to regain his mobility. At the same time, a white-haired young man in a black Taoist robe appeared above Zhou Jie's head. His black and white eyes stared coldly at Zhou Jie. Zhou Jie and the white-haired youth looked at each other. In that instant, Zhou Jie felt an enormous amount of soul force rushing into his soul realm, as though it was trying to tear his soul realm apart. However, Zhou Jie cultivated the heart force secret method, and the strength of his soul force was so strong that even the Tao creation realm emperor rarely surpassed him. Therefore, in the instant he suffered from this soul attack, Zhou Jie also made a counterattack. Not only could he eliminate the soul force that intruded into his soul realm, he also took the opportunity to launch a soul illusion attack towards the white-haired youth. Not only that, Zhou Jie's eyes lit up at the same time, erupting with a terrifying cold light. There was a powerful, invisible willpower that acted on the white-haired youth. It was just that the white-haired youth's power was extremely strange. Whether it was Zhou Jie's soul illusion or the power of his will, they all dissipated around 2 meters away from the white-haired youth. It was like throwing a stone with your hand, and just as the stone was about to leave your hand, the stone would suddenly disappear. Zhou Jie was greatly shocked by this, but on the surface, he did not reveal any expression. This was because when the white-haired youth appeared, he had roughly estimated his strength through his method of solidifying space-time laws, at least the Tao creation realm emperor. And this kind of cultivation-level expert could be said to be very resourceful. Therefore, Zhou Jie's attack was ineffective against him, and he only felt that it was unexpected but reasonable. "Are you the world emperor?" Zhou Jie shouted, and, at the same time, the immortal demon body was displayed by him. His whole body turned pitch black, and the surface faintly had golden lines squirming and emerging. Suddenly, a great pressure filled the world. Zhou Jie's 1,000 feet of snow peak instantly returned to nothingness. At the same time, the white-haired youth world emperor's control of space-time laws was also broken to a certain extent. "You recognize this old man?" The white-haired youth's face was like an ancient well without ripples. He still lowered his head and looked at Zhou Jie indifferently. He was not affected by the pressure of the immortal demon body. "It's really him." Zhou Jie got a response and secretly said in his heart. At the same time, he looked at the world emperor again, but asked, "You said that I killed your disciple, the world emperor. Do you have evidence?" "Huh?" The world emperor faced Zhou Jie's question and frowned for the first time. "You dare to say that it's not you? Do you think that this old man's karma principle is as weak as yours?" Being questioned by the world emperor, Zhou Jie couldn't help but frown. It was true that he didn't kill the emperor, but since the world emperor was so sure that he did it, then the strangeness of it was not something he could explain away. So Zhou Jie had to say, "World Emperor, I did not kill your disciples, including Qing Xuanzi and Su Jingdu. Their souls are still alive in my hands. If you want to deceive yourself, then I can only accompany you to the end." Hearing Zhou Jie's words, the world emperor snorted coldly and said, "Ridiculous." In the world emperor's view, Zhou Jie was like an ant, and he was not even qualified to talk to him. Such words were simply arrogant. In the world emperor's view, there was no need to clarify right and wrong. Even if Zhou Jie really did not kill the world emperor, but was framed by someone who might deceive him, the world emperor knew that his strength was not below his own. He would not easily provoke such an existence. And it was a fact that Zhou Jie destroyed the bodies of Qing Xuanzi and Su Jingdu. This point alone was enough for him to kill him, without any unnecessary explanation. Before the world emperor's voice died away, the world where he was completely collapsed, turning into an endless dark void vortex. The entire planet below trembled, as if it was about to be sucked in by the endless void vortex above. Under the terrible suction, a large number of lives on the planet below were instantly destroyed, turned into nothingness, and merged into the collapsed starry sky. Zhou Jie's expression changed, and then, without hesitation, his figure flashed and rushed to the back. When the world emperor saw Zhou Jie's action, he naturally thought that he was going to escape, so he immediately chased after him. His speed was so fast that he almost instantly appeared above Zhou Jie's head, and his steps seemed to be neither fast nor slow as he walked forward. The direction the world emperor was walking in was the direction Zhou Jie was going, and with every step, a strong pressure that could shatter the void fell on Zhou Jie. Even with the immortal demon body, Zhou Jie felt that his whole body was torn apart in an instant with every step the World Emperor took. If it were not for the recovery power of the immortal demon body, Zhou Jie knew that he would not be able to withstand 3 steps before his body collapsed. However, with the support of the immortal demon body, Zhou Jie not only seemed to be unscathed after 3 steps, but also had the strength to perform the 3rd level of myriad arts of heavenly mastery. 3 flowers at one's prominence. Countless yellow rays of light appeared out of thin air and quickly gathered above Zhou Jie's head, turning into 3 lotus-like shapes and connected with each other in a triangular manner. A great power burst out after the 3 flowers formed, and then the 3 flowers bloomed, and countless yellow rays of light spread out like a web, covering the entire void in the blink of an eye, including the World Emperor. Seeing this, the depths of the World Emperor's eyes tightened imperceptibly, and at the same time, he slapped down at Zhou Jie below. His palm, which was the size of an ordinary person, suddenly enlarged, and in the eyes of Zhou Jie below, it was as if it was infinite. As expected of the World Emperor, your control of the law of time and space far surpasses mine. At that time, Zhou Jie's mind turned at lightning speed, and the 3 flowers blooming above his head suddenly exploded, along with the countless yellow rays of light that connected the entire void, and thus the entire void was torn apart. Although the World Emperor's palm formed its own heaven and earth, and was not affected by the 3 flowers at one's prominence before, Zhou Jie made a prompt decision to destroy the entire void at the cost of destroying the 3 flowers. Even the World Emperor's palm was affected, and a large number of cracks appeared on the surface of the palm, and the downward momentum also came to a halt. Zhou Jie's eyes flashed, and he took the opportunity to burst out with all his strength to perform his body movement. Nirvana Void. In an instant, Zhou Jie stepped forward, 1 into 2, 2 into 3, 3 into 4, and each step left a shadow on the spot, and the distance of each step was millions of miles. In less than the blink of an eye, Zhou Jie took 9 steps, and 9 identical Zhou Jie appeared in 9 different positions. Almost as soon as the 9th Zhou Jie appeared, the power of the World Emperor's palm burst out, and although it did not touch, the first Zhou Jie collapsed and disappeared, followed by the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. In an instant, 8 Zhou Jies collapsed and disappeared, leaving only Zhou Jie's original body. His figure flashed again, and he appeared in a destroyed void thousands of miles away from his original position, where a dark Rubik's Cube floated. It was the Wanjie Rubik's Cube that Zhou Jie had just given to Su Youyu. Chapter 450. Zhou Jie was fast, but in front of the Universe King, he was like a clown. Just when Zhou Jie was less than 100 meters away from the Wanjie Rubik's Cube and reached out to grab it, Zhou Jie felt a huge space resistance in front of him. At the same time, the distance between him and the Wanjie Rubik's Cube suddenly increased from less than 100 meters to more than 200 meters. Zhou Jie's pupil shrank because of this, but he did not hesitate to use Nirvana again. Suddenly, he split into 2, and the split body directly appeared more than 100 meters away from the Wanjie Rubik's Cube. Between Zhou Jie's body and the split body, the void turned into a silent darkness. Obviously, the space had been further destroyed. This time, when he used Nirvana, Zhou Jie felt an inconceivable resistance coming from all directions. So much so that when he split his main body for the 2nd time to move forward, he only managed to move 20 meters. But this was not the most fatal thing. Zhou Jie's 3rd body split appeared less than 10 meters away from the 2nd body split. The 4th body split was less than 5 meters away from the 3rd body split. The 5th body split was less than 2 meters. The 6th body split was less than 1 meter. And the 7th body split to the 9th body split was less than half a meter. The 9th body split was completed in an instant, and Zhou Jie was still more than 60 meters away from the Wanjie Rubik's Cube. If it was a mere 60 meters, Zhou Jie could go back and forth thousands of times in an instant. But now, Under the suppression of the Universe King's space-time law, Zhou Jie, who split his body for the 9th time, was like being trapped in a swamp, and even moving was extremely difficult. It took him more than a second to move 1 meter forward. The distance of 60 meters suddenly became extremely far. Just as Zhou Jie's face turned ferocious, and he was about to forcibly close the distance, the white-haired World Emperor quietly appeared in front of the house-sized Wanjie Rubik's Cube and waved his hand to collect it in his palm. At the same time, Su Yuyu stood inside the Wanjie Rubik's Cube. Her face was pale as she looked at the light mirror that projected the situation outside. Suddenly, it turned dark and then shattered. In her mind, the Universe Emperor's cold eyes and the dark figure that was desperately rushing over still remained. What the hell happened? Master, Su Yoyu's lips trembled as she could not get the last scene she saw in her mind. But when the Wanjie Rubik's Cube was held in the Universe King's right palm, all connections with the outside world were cut off. Su Yu could neither observe the outside world nor go out. The Wanjie Rubik's Cube was like a prison, locking her inside, but it also played a protective role. Seeing the Wanjie Rubik's Cube, Zhou Jie was shocked and furious. If he knew that the Universe King would appear, he would not let Su Yu out. I used the heavenly plan sword to disturb the karma, but the Realm Emperor was still able to find me. What is going on? Zhou Jie roared in his heart, but he had no time to think about it. The most important thing now was to save Su Yu. In fact, there was not much relationship between Zhou Jie and Su Yu. It was purely because Zhou Jie had saved Su Yu and her clansmen several times. Su Yu did not bring any benefits to Zhou Jie. Even the inheritance of the 6 Desires Transcendence was because Zhou Jie had saved the entire goddess clan, not Su Yu alone. Therefore, it was normal for Su Yu to have a good impression of Zhou Jie, and Zhou Jie could feel it. But he had Lung Shuider first, so he rejected her. And because of this, Su Yu's life was not that important to Zhou Jie. But perhaps because he rejected Su Yu's affection, Zhou Jie had a trace of guilt in his heart. In addition, he had the idea of helping people to the end and saving people to the end. The most important thing was that even Zhou Jie himself didn't realize that he couldn't do anything about Lung Shuider's death at that time, which made him feel painful and disappointed. Therefore, he didn't want similar things to happen again, and Lung Shuider's situation was similar. However, Zhou Jie was more or less aware of the gap between him and the Universe King. It was unimaginably difficult to take back the Wanjie Rubik's Cube from the Universe King's hands. It was far more difficult than escaping. His only chance was to seize the Wanjie Rubik's Cube, while the Universe King was still careless of him. In an instant, Zhou Jie understood all this and exploded. 10,000 arts of heaven, 3 flowers at one's prominence. Broken Star River, formation star map. While maintaining the immortal demon body, Zhou Jie also used 2 top secret techniques in an instant. Especially under the pressure of the Universe King, the burden on him was extremely huge. However, under Zhou Jie's full strength, the space-time controlled by the Universe King was still pried open. After the 3 flowers appeared, they self-destructed before they could fully condense, further destroying the Universe King's control. At the same time, countless stars lit up and spread toward the Universe King, causing the space-time to change and producing a wonderful rumbling sound. The Universe King was not surprised by Zhou Jie's sudden violent reaction. Instead, he sneered in his heart. At the same time, he raised his free left hand and clenched it fiercely toward Zhou Jie, who was rushing toward him. In an instant, a strong sense of crisis appeared in Zhou Jie's mind. He quickly used Nirvana, and his body split into 2 avatars. Zhou Jie's body had just split into 2 avatars when they were directly torn apart by a strange force and then twisted into nothingness. Then, one of the avatars on the left and right side of Zhou Jie also quickly collapsed, leaving only the real Zhou Jie's body. The dark, immortal demon body twisted slightly and continued to move dozens of meters to the side. When the Universe King saw that his grasp did not seriously injure Zhou Jie, his eyebrows slightly raised. Immediately, his left hand turned into a slap and swept toward Zhou Jie. Zhou Jie knew that he could not keep dodging. He had to withstand the Universe King's blow and win a short preparation time for his ultimate kill. Therefore, he did not dodge the Universe King's slap this time. Instead, he focused his eyes, and the thunder and fire seals intertwined and turned into the heavenly thunder purple phoenix seal. At the same time, the countless stars in the dot formation star map gathered and met the Universe King's palm law attack. Of course, Zhou Jie knew that this was far from enough. In the next moment, a golden light lit up between his eyebrows. It was the heavenly plan sword that burst out and directly cut off the nearby space-time law. It also met the Universe King's palm law attack. Taking advantage of the heavenly plan sword's karma law interference, the Universe King lost his sense of Zhou Jie at this moment. Zhou Jie finally used his ultimate kill without hesitation. Zhou Jie used Nirvana, and his figure turned into two. After reappearing, his original body was less than 20 meters away from the Universe King. At this moment, Zhou Jie closed his eyes, and the aura of his whole body seemed to disappear. The Universe King, who should have locked on his Zhou Jie again at this moment, still could not accurately lock on his Zhou Jie's aura. In the next moment, Zhou Jie suddenly opened his eyes. The aura of his whole body suddenly burst out, and it was an unprecedented outbreak. Dong! At that moment, the Universe King seemed to feel the sound of space-time breaking. His eyes, including his perception, suddenly turned into darkness. At the same time, an incomparably cold force of silence swept over him. Even with his strength, he was caught off guard in an instant. Under the attack of this force, his body trembled slightly. Ivan's arcane art, Dawn's extreme night. Previously, Zhou Jie had speculated about the power of the Dawn arcane art. He believed that its attack power alone was not weaker than the Seven Saints technique, and he used it as his strongest killing move. At that time, when he received the enlightenment of the arcane art, Zhou Jie had a deep understanding of the first part of the arcane art, Extreme Night. He even had the confidence to use it. Therefore, Zhou Jie dared to estimate that he could completely master this arcane art in 1,000 years. However, this did not mean that the Dawn arcane art was simple. It could only be said that it was just right for Zhou Jie to practice. Moreover, Zhou Jie cultivated the 6 paths, so he could learn all kinds of techniques. He could almost quickly master the foundation of any secret technique. In addition, Ivan could be said to have taught him everything. Therefore, Zhou Jie was able to successfully use the Extreme Night technique in a short period of time. Taking advantage of the short moment when the World King was helpless, Zhou Jie appeared in front of the World King's right hand. With a thought, the restriction hidden in the Wanjie Rubik's Cube completely erupted, allowing the Wanjie Rubik's Cube to connect with Zhou Jie again and take the initiative to break free from the World King's palm. Everything happened in an instant. When Zhou Jie grabbed the Wanjie Rubik's Cube with one hand, the World King had already reacted. His angry roar exploded in Zhou Jie's ears. "You're courting death." Facing the World King's attack at such a close distance, Zhou Jie knew that he could not dodge in time. However, he had already expected all of this. At the moment when the World King attacked, a golden red light shot out from between his eyebrows. It emitted a terrifying wave that was enough to make the World King's expression change. "Immemorial," the World King roared. At the same time, he was enveloped in the terrifying light wave that erupted from the Holy Phoenix Talisman. Chapter 451. In the face of the Universe Emperor, Zhou Jie knew that it would be difficult for him to hurt him with the Extreme Night technique. At most, he would be able to catch the Universe Emperor off guard and give him a chance to take back the Wanjie Rubik's Cube. Zhou Jie had predicted that the World Emperor would attack him at that time. Therefore, Zhou Jie did not hesitate to use 2 of the 3 life-saving methods that the ancient Divine Emperor had left in the Sacred Phoenix Talisman. Zhou Jie had also predicted that the World Emperor would attack him at that time. Therefore, he did not hesitate to use two of the three life-saving methods that the ancient divine emperor had left in the sacred phoenix talisman. Yes, he used it twice. As for the life-saving means left by the ancient divine emperor in the holy phoenix talisman, Zhou Jie had pondered over it after reaching the emperor universe realm. Once it was used, there would be a force that could be used as an attack. In addition, there would be another force that Zhou Jie speculated was to absorb external forces for protection. In fact, Zhou Jie's speculation was completely correct. The Holy Phoenix Talisman seemed to be unable to withstand using the power of the ancient Divine Emperor twice at the same time. After releasing this force, it trembled violently, turned into a stream of light, and flew back to Zhou Jie's forehead. As for the two released forces of the ancient Divine Emperor, most of them poured toward the Universe Emperor, and a small part followed Zhou Jie, madly rolling up the power of law to form a shield around Zhou Jie. At the same time, Zhou Jie did not hesitate to use nirvana to escape into the distance. Behind Zhou Jie, the Universe Emperor's roar was heard, but it did not spread far before it was completely swallowed up by the space of annihilation. Zhou Jie flew all the way until he reached an area where space-time was relatively stable. Only then could he use teleport to escape light years away. However, even after teleporting once, Zhou Jie did not have the slightest intention of relaxing. Instead, he continued to teleport continuously, and each time, the distance was further and further away. After about 10 teleportations, Zhou Jie had already moved more than 100,000 light-years away, crossing the diameter of an entire galaxy. At this point, Zhou Jie still hadn't let down his guard. Just as he was about to teleport again, a sudden change occurred. A huge dark purple crystal shard tore through space and time and suddenly appeared behind Zhou Jie. At the same time, Zhou Jie was shocked to discover that the space and time within a radius of countless kilometers seemed to have been frozen in an instant. His perception was restricted and his teleportation was interrupted. The enormous dark purple crystal fragment was tens of millions of kilometers long and more than 10,000 kilometers thick. It appeared behind Zhou Jie and swept toward Zhou Jie like a gigantic lid. Wherever it passed, the frozen space and time seemed to have collapsed, and all the laws were destroyed. Zhou Jie did not even have time to react before the shield on his body came into contact with the dark purple crystal fragment. As the two collided, the shield rapidly disappeared as if it had been directly erased. As for the fragment, a loud rumbling sound erupted from within. It rapidly collapsed and then dissipated. Thanks to the existence of the shield, Zhou Jie had the opportunity to react. In an instant, Zhou Jie used the indestructible demon body again, followed by nirvana. Zhou Jie's figure then turned into two figures and dashed forward. In the next moment, the shield on the surface of Zhou Jie's body was completely wiped out, but his figure moved forward for a distance, allowing him to narrowly avoid contact with the dark purple crystal fragment. However, the fragment moved too fast, and the space-time laws in this place had been destroyed. Zhou Jie found that he could not keep a distance from it. He had no choice but to turn around and use the Holy Phoenix Talisman again, bursting out the power of the ancient Divine Emperor for the third time. In the shattered space-time, everything was only light and shadow, and there was no sound. Zhou Jie could not feel the result of the collision, but he knew that the power of the ancient Divine Emperor alone could not resist the fragment for even half a second, so he immediately activated the Holy Phoenix Talisman itself. 100,000 Fire Spirit Soldiers, 10 Fire Spirit Generals, 3 Fire Spirit Kings. Zhou Jie roared in the depths of his heart. The Holy Phoenix Talisman suddenly burst out with unprecedented power, releasing a golden red light, which shrouded 10,013 figures. They were the fire spirits sealed in it. However, as soon as these fire spirits appeared, they were swept by the dark purple crystal fragment before they could even form a formation to attack. One by one, they disappeared like bubbles and did not even exist in the blink of an eye. At the same time, Zhou Jie retreated rapidly with his eyes wide open. Four Zhou Jie's formed a straight line and displayed the indestructible demon body at the same time. Indestructible demon body, immortal power. The four dark Zhou Jie's raised their hands at the same time and punched in the direction of the fragment. However, as soon as the first Zhou Jie raised his fist, it was swept by the fragment. His body wriggled violently and instantly collapsed and disappeared. Immediately after, the second Zhou Jie's fist was swept by the fragment before it was even halfway through its punch. It persisted for a blink of an eye before it also collapsed and disappeared. The third Zhou Jie resisted for 2 blinks of an eye before it also collapsed and disappeared. However, the fourth Zhou Jie did not touch the fragment and automatically collapsed. Behind him, another Zhou Jie appeared, followed by the second, the third. However, as soon as the third Zhou Jie appeared, the first Zhou Jie that was closest to the fragment collapsed. Zhou Jie was on the verge of going crazy. Just now, he had used the Nirvana Void to split into 4 main bodies and used the power of 4 indestructible demon bodies in an instant. Not only was he unable to stop the fragment, but his physical body was also severely injured. In desperation, while Zhou Jie used all his strength to escape with Nirvana, he took out treasures and self-destructed them to resist the crushing power of the fragment. Clear Heart Bell. Explode. Shield Transformation. Explode. Sea God Armor. Explode. One by one, Zhou Jie threw out Emperor weapons to self-destruct in an attempt to stop the fragment from approaching. However, it was all in vain. The power of self-destruction of several Emperor weapons combined could not resist the power of one ancient divine Emperor, and the fragment could not be stopped even if it was 3 times ancient divine Emperor's power. Chaos 8 slashes. Explode. Holy Phoenix Talisman. Explode. Although he was extremely unwilling, Zhou Jie still chose to self-destruct the Holy Phoenix Talisman. After all, with the heavenly plan sword, the Holy Phoenix Talisman itself was of little value to Zhou Jie. However, it was given by the ancient divine emperor, so to Zhou Jie, it was still of great significance. The self-destruction of the Holy Phoenix Talisman and Chaos 8 slashes was more terrifying than the self-destruction of hundreds of ordinary Emperor weapons. It was enough to make the Tao Creation Realm Emperor you pay attention to it. However, in front of the half-step Transcendental Realm strength of the Universe Emperor, it was still not enough. The dark purple crystal fragment only paused for a moment in the explosion, and the part that was hit directly by the explosion shattered and returned to nothingness. However, this did not affect the movement of the fragment as a whole. Zhou Jie did not look at the blocking effect of the self-destruction of the treasure. He used Nirvana to the limit, and his body instantly split into 6, but it only moved him a few hundred miles. A few hundred miles was just a blink of an eye for the fragment. The distance between Zhou Jie and the fragment was still closing. Under such circumstances, after a short period of anxiety, Zhou Jie calmed down. In this state, Zhou Jie was the most terrifying. This is the only way. Zhou Jie was left with no other choice. He finally made a choice and chose to use the most powerful treasure he had. Primal Chaos Demon Sealing Lock. Freeze for me. In an instant, countless pitch-black chains erupted from Zhou Jie's body and disappeared into nothingness. When they reappeared, these chains had already tightly wrapped around the huge, dark purple crystal fragment. What was even more inconceivable was that after being wrapped by these chains, the fragment that even the power of 3 ancient sacred emperors could not stop for a moment was actually stopped, unable to move an inch further. However, at the same time, the chains transmitted extremely terrifying destructive fluctuations back to Zhou Jie. Although most of them were absorbed by the chains, the remaining fluctuations entered Zhou Jie's body, causing his body to tremble violently. His immortal demon body wriggled crazily, and many parts of his body even exploded. With a muffled groan, Zhou Jie let out a furious roar and threw a punch to the side with all his strength. With this punch, the space seal that had weakened due to the fragments being sealed was suddenly partially broken, and a vortex channel appeared. In the next second, Zhou Jie stepped into the whirlpool. As his figure disappeared, the countless chains collapsed and disappeared into nothingness, following Zhou Jie. In the starry sky, thousands of light years away, Zhou Jie walked out of spatial whirlpool. The terrifying and chaotic aura on his body was instantly extinguished, and the immortal demon body was dispelled, revealing Zhou Jie's broken body. On the surface of his body, there were countless dark purple phosphorescent lights that continued to wander and flicker, constantly destroying Zhou Jie's body. Puff! Zhou Jie spat out a mouthful of purple-red blood, which immediately caused the energy in the starry sky within a radius of millions of miles to become abnormal. At the same time, Zhou Jie's body also emitted waves of destructive fluctuations. At this time, even if there was a planet thousands of miles away from him, it would be instantly destroyed. All of this was because Zhou Jie was too seriously injured and could not control his own energy field. Chapter 452. Before the Universe Emperor Realm. If one had enough soul power, they could absorb energy from the outside world to recover. But after the Universe Emperor Realm, the body and soul had fused into a divine body. Injuries to the body were also injuries to the soul, and vice versa. At this moment, Zhou Jie was seriously injured like never before. The energy fluctuations of the last fragment had entered his body through the chains and was still trying to destroy Zhou Jie's divine body. This was also the reason why Zhou Jie's divine body was still in tatters. The destruction of his divine body was still ongoing, and Zhou Jie couldn't even stop it, let alone heal his injuries. As his divine body trembled, Zhou Jie raised his right hand, and the shrunken Wanjie Rubik's Cube appeared. Then, he clenched his teeth and threw it forward. After breaking free from Zhou Jie's control, the Wanjie Rubik's Cube belonged to Su Youyu. She sensed the changes in the outside world and immediately tried to investigate the situation. But when she did, her expression changed greatly, and she anxiously walked out of the Wanjie Rubik's Cube. After Su Youyu appeared, she immediately flew to Zhou Jie's side and anxiously asked, "Master, what's wrong?" Zhou Jie tried his best to suppress his injuries and not let them erupt, but his face faintly trembled as he said, "Hurry up and leave this place. The farther the better." Su Youyu almost cried when she heard this. She immediately grabbed Zhou Jie's arm and cried out in alarm. She was injured by the power that involuntarily erupted from Zhou Jie's arm. "Oh, Master, you're injured." Although Su Youyu didn't have much experience, she could tell from Zhou Jie's appearance when he spoke and the unstable state of energy in his body that Zhou Jie was seriously injured. When she thought about the white-haired young man from before, Su Youyu instantly had a rough guess in her heart. Zhou Jie hadn't fled at the first possible moment after being assassinated by the white-haired young man, and he'd chosen to rescue her instead. But presumably, the white-haired young man's strength was extremely terrifying. Even though Zhou Jie had rescued her in an intense battle, he'd suffered heavy injuries and was lucky to escape. Moreover, the white-haired young man might still be pursuing her at this moment, yet Zhou Jie had asked her to flee immediately. "Don't worry about me. Hurry up and leave." Zhou Jie suppressed his injuries and said with a trace of anger. Although he had escaped far away and time was extremely chaotic, affecting the law of cause and effect, with the World Emperor's deduction ability, Zhou Jie couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't be able to find him, so he wanted Su Youyu to leave as soon as possible. However, the more Zhou Jie acted like this, the more Su Youyu couldn't abandon Zhou Jie and leave. Thus, she resolutely shook her head. "No, Master suffered such heavy injuries in order to save Youyu. Youyu won't abandon Master. Youyu will treat Master's injuries right now." Zhou Jie couldn't help but frown at Su Youyu's disobedience, but he was seriously injured and couldn't drive her away. Helpless, he could only accept her treatment. Su Youyu didn't wait for Zhou Jie to speak and immediately stretched out her hands. She gathered the energy of the universe and poured it into Zhou Jie's body. However, when the energy touched the surface of Zhou Jie's divine body, Zhou Jie's body immediately trembled and a destructive power leaked out. After swallowing the external energy, it returned to Zhou Jie's body. Stop! Zhou Jie noticed this and immediately shouted. He didn't expect the power of the fragment to be so strange. It could even swallow external energy to strengthen itself. Su Yu was also shocked by this point, and at the same time when Zhou Jie shouted, she was so scared that she stopped the energy healing. How could this be, Master? Su Yu was at a loss because of this sudden change. Zhou Jie's face twisted at this moment. He suddenly roared and raised his hand and pointed his sword at various parts of his body more than 20 times. Restrictions fell into his body and helped him suppress the destructive power in his body. After doing all of this, Zhou Jie's aura plummeted. Because his own strength intertwined with the destructive power in his body, it was sealed by the restrictions he used. However, Zhou Jie knew that this was only temporary. It wouldn't be long before the restrictions were broken. At that time, he wouldn't be able to control his own strength immediately and would be injured by the destructive power instead. He had to make the best use of this short period of time to recover. Zhou Jie had some plans towards this. The corpse of an ancient god at the Imperial Monarch realm was stored within the seal, and its physical strength was extremely impressive. Zhou Jie felt that he would be slightly confident in his ability to resist the energy of destruction once he absorbed it. However, before Zhou Jie could do that, Su Yu suddenly said, Master, Yu has a way to heal your injuries. Zhou Jie couldn't help but be stunned when he heard this. At the same time, gorgeous pink light suddenly erupted from Su Yu's body, and then the clothes she transformed into vanished to reveal her peerlessly beautiful body. Countless complicated markings of the laws appeared densely on the surface of Su Yu's body, and then an extremely vast energy of the laws of the universe converged over. Zhou Jie's expression changed. It wasn't because the energy Su Yu had erupted with was formidable, and it was because the shocking charm she possessed after she circulated the goddess technique was sufficient to affect him at his peak, let alone now. However, this wasn't the most fatal part. While Zhou Jie was momentarily dazed, Su Yu opened her arms and flew towards Zhou Jie with the intention of hugging Zhou Jie. Su Yu's figure approached with extreme charm. Zhou Jie's mind shook violently, but he still sobered up and immediately roared, What are you doing? Master, Yu will use her own blood of the laws to heal you. It will definitely be able to help Master recover. Su Yu thought that Zhou Jie felt that she would harm him, so she hurriedly explained, Blood of the laws? As the inheritor of the 6 desires transcendence, Zhou Jie knew about the blood of the laws. It was the origin energy that the members of the goddess clan gathered in their bodies every once in a while. However, only the goddess's blood could be called the blood of the laws. The blood of the laws was extremely precious. At critical moments, it could be used as a backup energy for the goddess. It could be used to heal, attack, defend, and so on. If an outsider wanted to obtain the blood of the laws, the only way was for the goddess to willingly offer her body and copulate with them. This was the most perfect method. Alternatively, the goddess could harm herself to force out the blood of the laws. However, the power of the blood of the laws would also be consumed. The first blood of the laws that the goddess offered her body to was even more precious than the blood of the laws that came after because it contained the power of inheritance. Therefore, the first blood of the laws was called the first blood. Hearing that Su Yu wanted to offer the first blood to him, Zhou Jie was instantly enraged. The moment Su Yu approached, his eyes suddenly filled with dazzling lightning. Scram! Just as Su Yu was about to come into contact with Zhou Jie let out a furious roar as lightning shot out from his eyes. Su Yu was caught off guard and was struck by the lightning. She screamed as she was sent flying tens of thousands of meters away. However, because of Zhou Jie's outburst of anger, the seal in his body was broken ahead of time. The destructive power of the fragment swept through his body, causing Zhou Jie's divine body to collapse. A large amount of divine blood spurted out, and his soul shook violently. Zhou Jie's vision darkened, and he actually fainted. Without the control of Zhou Jie's consciousness, the power in his body began to struggle uncontrollably with the destructive power, causing the injuries on his divine body to worsen and gradually collapse. On the other side, Su Yuyu stopped her retreat, and her face was pale. However, when she saw Zhou Jie's divine body collapse, tears gushed out of her eyes. She immediately flew toward Zhou Jie without hesitation. "Master, even at this point, you still aren't willing to accept me. Yoyu isn't stupid. Master must have a sweetheart. Since Master isn't willing to accept my body, I'll just force out the law of blood." Su Yu thought to herself. Tears flowed down her face uncontrollably. At the same time, she flashed in front of the unconscious Zhou Jie. In Su Yoyu's abdomen, a ball of dark red energy gradually thickened. After circulating through Su Yoyu's body, it gathered between her eyebrows and turned into a blood-red mole. Su Yoyu seemed to be in great pain. Her body trembled, but she still did her best to gather all the first blood between her eyebrows. In the end, the first blood turned into a fingernail-sized ball of law energy that floated between Zhou Jie's eyebrows and slowly disappeared. After the first blood was forced out of Su Yuyu's body, her aura fell sharply. Her pink eyes dimmed and conservative clothes appeared on her body again. With the blood of laws, Master's injuries are recovering. Master, you'll be able to wake up soon, but Yuyu won't be able to face Master again. Yuyu took one last deep glance at Zhou Jie before raising her hand to set up a protective barrier around Zhou Jie's body, and then her figure vanished like smoke. Chapter 453. Just as Su Yuyu said, almost a second after she left, Zhou Jie woke up. Zhou Jie suddenly opened his eyes, but they were filled with emptiness and no pupils could be seen. At the same time, Zhou Jie's originally collapsing body lit up with traces of blood-red light. Under the lingering light, not only did his divine body stop collapsing, but it also rapidly recovered. Not only that, Zhou Jie also felt that his dried-up soul realm was being injected with a clear stream of energy, once again brimming with vitality. This was also the main reason why he was able to immediately wake up. Soon, Zhou Jie's consciousness completely recovered, and he regained control of his divine body's power. He was surprised to find that his divine body's power was frantically recovering. Even the fragment's power of destruction could not stop it. Not only that, even if he did not deliberately suppress the power of destruction, his divine body's continuous recovery power was rapidly wearing down the power of destruction. In the end, Zhou Jie only had to spend a little bit of effort to completely remove the power of destruction. About half a minute after Su Yuyu left, Zhou Jie's eyes regained clarity and the energy in his divine body completely stabilized. However, there was still a vast amount of cosmic energy being invisibly absorbed by Zhou Jie, healing his injuries at an extremely fast speed. What's going on? Zhou Jie stood there and found that Su Yuyu and the Wanjie Rubik's Cube were nowhere to be seen. While he was puzzled, he had a vague guess in his heart. In order to figure out everything that happened after he fainted, Zhou Jie flipped his hand and summoned the Heavenly Plan Sword. Using it to reverse the laws of space and time, he performed a karmic deduction. As the matter had just happened and Zhou Jie was the closest to the scene, Zhou Jie easily restored the scene of Su Yuyu forcing out the blood of law and fusing it into his body. It's really her. Zhou Jie looked at the illusory figure in the picture and deeply looked at him. Finally, she turned around and left, disappearing along with the Wanjie Rubik's Cube not far away. He fell silent for a moment. However, Zhou Jie did not dwell on this for too long, because he thought of his current situation. The World Emperor could come after him at any time. That's good. We won't be a burden to each other. The blood of law, I will return it to you in the future. We don't owe each other anything, Zhou Jie said in his heart. Then, he made up his mind and disappeared in a flash. Zhou Jie didn't look for Su Yuyu. Even though he could easily find her with his deductive abilities and his karmic connection with Su Yuyu, Zhou Jie couldn't accept Su Yuyu, so he couldn't face her. Because he still couldn't leave the central universe in a short period of time, Zhou Jie chose to temporarily live on a barren starry sky continent after fleeing for several years. He planned to cultivate in seclusion and continue to improve his strength. The reason why Zhou Jie wanted to cultivate in seclusion was that Su Youyu's first blood contained great benefits. It was not inferior to when he first awakened his bloodline. Therefore, after helping him recover from his injuries, there was still a large portion of the power of law that he could use to comprehend and absorb. In particular, it contained the law of soul illusion, which was very precious to Zhou Jie, who was at a bottleneck in his cultivation of a heart force secret method. One day, more than 30 years later, Zhou Jie sat cross-legged in a cave on the barren continent. The moment he opened his eyes, it was as if a storm had been forced out of his eyes, and it caused the entire barren continent, which was thousands of kilometers in radius, to shake. But the strange thing was that even the dust on the continent didn't change its trajectory because of this. Instead, it returned to its original state after the tremor, as if the tremor had never happened. My soul has made a breakthrough. The effect of the blood of law is greater than I imagined. I'm afraid that only when I use transcendent power can it compare to it. It seems that using transcendent power before was a waste. Zhou Jie muttered to himself and sighed in his heart. However, when he sighed, he wasn't thinking about transcendent power, but Su Yuyu. As if sensing the abnormality in his thoughts, Zhou Jie gently shook his head, cleared his mind, and entered the state of cultivation again. This time, he decided to sort out all the legacies he had learned from the 6 paths of inheritance and try to integrate them. At the very least, he wouldn't be unable to use them without a pattern in battle. When many secret techniques were used together, they would promote each other, but there were also some that would repel each other and weaken the power of the secret techniques. These were the problems that Zhou Jie had to solve first. After that, Zhou Jie had to continue comprehending the heavenly plan sword because there were still many things that he hadn't understood and grasped. Once he grasped all of them, Zhou Jie's strength would be improved to a certain extent. After that, there was also the arcane technique Dawn that Ivan had imparted to him. Zhou Jie estimated that it would take him several hundred years to master it. At that time, it would be his strongest trump card. Time passed peacefully. Before he knew it, it was already the 930th year that Zhou Jie had been in seclusion on this starry land. On this day, Zhou Jie opened his eyes again. His eyes were slightly bright, but they were also clean and clear. There was no sign of any power emerging. It shouldn't be a problem to use daybreak now, but I didn't expect that dawn, which needs to be fused with sundered night, will be so much more difficult to use than I thought. It's fine if I can find the balance, but if I can't, I can only continue to waste time. If I'm unlucky, it won't help even if I have another 1,000 years. Zhou Jie muttered to himself, shook his head slightly, and sighed. Not long after, Zhou Jie got up and walked out of the cave. Looking at the pitch-black space in the distance, he couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness. Soon, when I become transcendent, I might be able to revive you. But at that time, I might have to face the entirely family sacred land. Can I really revive the sacred land? Zhou Jie suddenly spoke to himself again. Even he didn't realize that his mood was rapidly becoming depressed, so much so that the origin of his soul was affected and began to shrink. Under normal circumstances, this sort of situation was practically impossible to occur, because even though emotions could affect the souls of ordinary people, this was also the reason why some people would be angered to death. But to cultivators, especially a formidable existence at the Universe Emperor realm like Zhou Jie, this sort of situation would absolutely not occur under normal circumstances. Gradually, Zhou Jie's mood became extremely bad, causing his eyes to dim rapidly. His entire person looked like he had aged a lot in an instant. This situation lasted for about a minute. 10,000 meters behind Zhou Jie, the mysterious black-robed man who had appeared before quietly appeared. His gaze fell on Zhou Jie below, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. However, at this moment, Zhou Jie's dim eyes suddenly lit up again, and the falling aura on his body instantly recovered. At the same time, he soared into the sky. Without looking back, he directly appeared in front of the black-robed man in a flash. With the heavenly plan sword in hand, Zhou Jie stabbed at the black-robed man. At the same time, under the power of the law of karma, all of the black-robed man's escape routes were cut off. However, an astonishing scene occurred again. When the heavenly plan sword appeared in Zhou Jie's hand, the black-robed man also raised his right hand, and a golden light suddenly appeared in his palm. Not only that, when the golden light formed by Zhou Jie's heavenly plan sword was about to pierce the golden light in the black-robed man's hand, he felt that all of his escape routes were also cut off by the power of the law of karma. The black-robed man's counterattack was exactly the same as Zhou Jie's attack, and even the word "like" could be removed. Although this wasn't the first time Zhou Jie had seen such a situation, his pupils still shrank. After his sword collided with the black-robed man's, he rapidly retreated and used his indestructible demon body. Myriad laws of heaven, four spirits lawbreaker, broken star river, pole star atlas. Following that, Zhou Jie didn't hesitate to use two holy techniques in succession. He didn't believe that the holy techniques could be imitated by the other party, even if the other party was a transcendent expert. Four spirits lawbreaker, red, green, yellow, and blue energy gathered and fused into an illusory finger that pointed at the black-robed man. Under this finger, the other laws were torn apart and couldn't be condensed. Even if they were condensed, they would be shattered. However, under Zhou Jie's control, the range of the four spirits lawbreaker only targeted a small area where the black-robed man was. It didn't affect the use of the broken star river, pole star atlas. Countless chaotic starlight condensed from the void within a radius of tens of thousands of miles and instantly turned into a slightly bright that floated hundreds of meters below the black-robed man, waiting to explode. However, Zhou Jie still miscalculated. Almost at the same time Zhou Jie used the two holy techniques, the black-robed man raised his hand and used the two holy techniques exactly the same as Zhou Jie's. Even the power was exactly the same. Chapter 454. Boom! Zhou Jie didn't expect the black-robed man to be able to imitate the holy technique so perfectly. He was caught off guard, and with a thought, he dispersed the power of the Polarity Star Atlas. If the black-robed man had chosen to use the Polarity Star Atlas, he might have been able to hurt Zhou Jie. However, the moment Zhou Jie dispersed the power of the Polarity Star Atlas, the power of the Polarity Star Atlas under his feet also dispersed. Clearly, the black-robed man had imitated Zhou Jie's actions again. Noticing this, Zhou Jie didn't feel relieved. Instead, his expression became even more solemn. Does this mean that he knows what I'm thinking? He even knows what I'm thinking when I use a secret technique. Doesn't that mean that the secret technique I used was secretly learned in an instant? Zhou Jie's heart sank when he thought of this. He felt that it was ridiculous. It must be noted that any holy technique required Zhou Jie to spend hundreds of years cultivating the 6 paths of reincarnation. Even a transcendent expert wouldn't be able to secretly learn and use it in such a short time. However, the black-robed man in front of Zhou Jie did it. What else could it be other than ridiculous? After retreating hundreds of meters, Zhou Jie quickly set up layers of barriers around himself as protection. Then, he waited for the shock waves from the collision to gradually subside. Soon, the black-robed man appeared about 100 meters in front of Zhou Jie again. His face was still hidden under the hood of the cloak, but for some reason, Zhou Jie felt that the man was looking at him and smiling. "Are you a transcendent?" Zhou Jie suddenly asked as he stared at the black-robed man for a moment. His mind was in a mess. "No, I'm not," the black-robed man replied. His voice was still exactly the same as Zhou Jie's. "Then who are you?" Zhou Jie was silent for a moment before he asked the question again. However, this time, Black Robe laughed out loud and said indifferently, "Don't you already have your answer? Besides, I've already told you that I am you. As expected, you must be a devil in my heart, created by a certain extraordinary expert through illusions. That's why you can know everything I'm thinking and imitate all my secret techniques, whether they're new ones or old ones. Zhou Jie said coldly, but his emotions were even calmer. As for Zhou Jie's guess, the black-robed man said, "That's where you're wrong. I've said it before. I'm you, and you might not be yourself. Are you sure you can differentiate between truth and falsehood?" Hearing the black-robed man's words, Zhou Jie snorted coldly and said, "I don't know if I can tell, but I know that as long as I defeat you, I can break this illusion." Zhou Jie's words were resolute and decisive, but in fact, he was not very sure in his heart. However, considering that the black-robed man could know all his thoughts, Zhou Jie subconsciously made all his thoughts more resolute. As soon as Zhou Jie finished speaking, the black-robed man lifted his hand and took off his hood, revealing a face that was exactly the same as Zhou Jie's. However, his neck was pitch black, indicating that he was using the indestructible demonic body just like Zhou Jie. You guessed it right. As long as you kill me, this game will come to an initial end. But how can you kill yourself? The black-robed Zhou Jie said with a smug smile, looking at Zhou Jie with a gaze that contained a hint of ridicule. However, Zhou Jie said without changing his expression, "I'm me, and you're just something that shouldn't exist. Killing you is as easy as flipping my hand." Hearing Zhou Jie's words, the corners of the black-robed Zhou Jie's mouth rose as he said, "I know all your thoughts. You can continue to try. Perhaps if you use Dawn, I won't be able to imitate it. Unfortunately, you still can't do it, right?" Zhou Jie ignored the black-robed Zhou Jie's words and immediately raised his hand and pointed upwards. Extreme night. In an instant, the originally dark universe became even darker. At the same time, all the laws seemed to have retreated and disappeared. However, at the same time, the black-robed Zhou Jie had also raised his hand and used the extreme night technique. The two extreme night techniques collided with each other and immediately created a separation. Because the power of the two techniques was almost the same, it was as if they had reached a balance and were solidified. Neither could advance an inch. What I want is the time and space balanced by the two arts of extreme night. At this moment, it will be difficult for any other secret techniques to be used. However, I, Zhou Jie, have never been good at secret techniques or divine abilities. Zhou Jie said coldly in the darkness of the extreme night. While he was talking to himself, he also seemed to be talking to the black-robed Zhou Jie, as if he was afraid that Zhou Jie didn't know. At the same time, Zhou Jie walked towards the black-robed Zhou Jie. Because of the two extreme night techniques, his senses were severely limited. Even if he was 100 meters away, Zhou Jie couldn't sense the black-robed Zhou Jie. However, when Zhou Jie walked 30 meters away, the black-robed Zhou Jie appeared in his detection range of only 60 meters. Obviously, the black-robed Zhou Jie knew what Zhou Jie was thinking and did the same thing. If you can even imitate this, then you are just a mirror. However, since you can have your own thoughts, you definitely can't imitate all my fighting abilities, Zhou Jie said loudly in the darkness. His figure rapidly approached the black-robed Zhou Jie. When the two were less than 2 meters apart, Zhou Jie, who was already prepared, threw a punch. The black-robed Zhou Jie, who knew Zhou Jie's plan, also threw a punch. Both of them were using their full strength. Boom! The punch should have shattered the void. However, in the space created by the two extreme night techniques, there was no sound at all. All Zhou Jie could hear was the rumbling in his own divine body. Then, Zhou Jie threw a second punch. The black-robed Zhou Jie also threw a second punch. Their fists collided with Zhou Jie's without the slightest difference. The third punch, the fourth punch, the fifth punch. In the end, Zhou Jie attacked with his head and feet. The black-robed Zhou Jie was able to perfectly deal with Zhou Jie's punches and kicks at the beginning. However, as Zhou Jie's attacks became fiercer and fiercer, the black-robed Zhou Jie's moves started to deviate. Every time he threw a punch or kick, he was slightly slower than Zhou Jie. In just a few seconds, the black-robed Zhou Jie's moves could no longer keep up with Zhou Jie's moves. Finally, he was unable to meet Zhou Jie's punches. Zhou Jie's punch landed on the black-robed Zhou Jie's right cheek. Although the black-robed Zhou Jie was using his indestructible demon body, the damage caused by Zhou Jie's punch was not obvious. However, this was the first time in history that Zhou Jie had actually hit the black-robed Zhou Jie. And if there was a first time, there would be a second time. Zhou Jie's attacks did not stop at all because of the punch. Almost at the same time as his punch landed, he had already kicked the black-robed Zhou Jie's knee. As a result, the black-robed Zhou Jie's eyes were filled with shock. He seemed to be in a hurry to deal with Zhou Jie. He was still diligently imitating Zhou Jie's movements, but his reaction could no longer keep up with the rhythm. As a result, every attack of Zhou Jie's perfectly landed on the black-robed Zhou Jie's body and continuously interrupted his attacks. For the first time, the black-robed Zhou Jie showed an expression of disbelief. He wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Zhou Jie's punch again. Zhou Jie knew what the black-robed Zhou Jie wanted to say. It was nothing more than that the black-robed Zhou Jie was shocked by his own attack. It was almost impossible for him to pay him back in his own coin and use the same attack to offset Zhou Jie's attack. And regarding this, Zhou Jie didn't miscalculate at all. As an ultimate warrior who also cultivated the divine martial path, his close combat ability had already reached the pinnacle of perfection. If one were to compare his continuous punches and kicks to a form of law, then Zhou Jie was at the highest level of self-created law. When he attacked, he did not even need to consciously control his body. Instead, he only needed to use his consciousness to maintain his body in combat. Therefore, although the black-robed Zhou Jie could understand Zhou Jie's combat consciousness, he still could not accurately capture each and every move of Zhou Jie's, causing him to be unable to respond in the end, resulting in his defeat. Staining clothes, 18 false. When the black-robed Zhou Jie was completely in a passive position, Zhou Jie made things worse for him by directly using the staining clothes 18 falls. Don't touch it. The black-robed Zhou Jie could understand Zhou Jie's thoughts, and he also knew how terrifying the staining clothes 18 falls was. Although he could also use it, he was one step behind Zhou Jie. There was no way he could compare with Zhou Jie, so he chose to retreat. You've already lost. The black-robed Zhou Jie in front of Zhou Jie retreated rapidly. As he chased, he transmitted his voice. His words sounded like he was speaking to a dying man. Chapter 455. The black-robed Zhou Jie was no longer as aggressive as before. He was like a stray dog. Zhou Jie seemed to be strolling toward him, but every time he took a step, a golden light would be torn out of the dark space under the solidification of the extreme night skill, making his speed soar. With only one step, he instantly closed the distance between him and the black-robed Zhou Jie. This was the preparation of daybreak. The black-robed Zhou Jie also began to use it, but for some reason, he was still one step slower than Zhou Jie. As a result, the distance between him and Zhou Jie was constantly shortened. Soon, they were close enough for close combat again. Without hesitation, Zhou Jie once again used his fists and kicks. However, the black-robed Zhou Jie suddenly roared, as if he was unwilling to give up, and once again imitated Zhou Jie's moves to collide with it. This time, the collision was silent, but the black-robed Zhou Jie was forced to step back with his face changing dramatically. His face quickly turned red. 18 falls of staining clothes. You can't steal this skill, Zhou Jie said coldly. He took another step forward and came to the black-robed Zhou Jie again, punching without any fancy moves. The black-robed Zhou Jie was already in a state where it was difficult for him to react. Almost subconsciously, he followed Zhou Jie's consciousness and punched back. Pooh! This time, the black-robed Zhou Jie was forced to step back in a more embarrassing way. He even spat out a mouthful of black blood, and his indestructible demon body shook. It's over. Before Zhou Jie finished his words, the darkness under his feet had completely melted. The dazzling golden light pierced through like a supreme power that could sweep away everything. Wherever it passed, everything returned to its light. Dawn skill daybreak. Roar, I'm not convinced. I'm you. You can't kill me. Under the illumination of the golden light, the black-robed Zhou Jie let out an unwilling roar, but his body was unable to resist the golden light and began to disappear. Originally, the black-robed Zhou Jie could also use the daybreak skill when Zhou Jie performed it. However, he was injured twice by Zhou Jie, so he didn't have time to use the daybreak skill. In the end, he, who could do nothing but imitate, naturally collapsed under the skill without any resistance. The moment the black-robed Zhou Jie disappeared, Zhou Jie closed his eyes and sensed carefully. He clearly found that there were subtle changes in the law of cause and effect around him. Sure enough, everything I'm in seems to be real, but it's actually mixed with an illusion. Now that the illusion has been broken, I'm still not sure if I'm in the second level of the illusion. Zhou Jie thought to himself and opened his eyes at the same time. However, Zhou Jie also knew that even a transcendent expert should be limited to putting himself in such an illusion, because such an illusion method was described in the last chapter of the Heart Force secret technique, Virtual World. Although Zhou Jie's current level was still far from it, he knew how difficult it was. The first level of the Virtual World was already rare, and the second level was almost at the level of the last step of the Virtual World, Boundary Structure. It was extremely rare for a transcendent expert. Most importantly, Zhou Jie realized that the expert who had hallucinated him did not seem to really want to kill him. Otherwise, Zhou Jie guessed that after the Universe Emperor had severely injured him, the other party could have easily killed him in the illusion. Even at the beginning, Zhou Jie was not confident that he could deal with a virtual world that was full of killing intent. However, in this way, Zhou Jie could not help but be puzzled. Since the other party did not really want to kill him, then the Universe Emperor's matter was most likely related to him. How would he explain it? What was the real purpose of hallucinating him? Speaking of which, it's more like a test for me. I was able to escape from the Universe Emperor's hands. Perhaps this mysterious expert secretly manipulated me. Otherwise, with the Universe Emperor's strength, he might have found me long ago. Zhou Jie thought to himself again, and his heart inevitably felt heavy. But from the beginning, this person wanted to affect my determination to cultivate. It seems that he has ulterior motives. Strength, after all, is not enough. If I can become a transcendent, what about the Universe Emperor? What about this person? I don't have to worry, and I might even be able to find a way to revive Shuer. I must become a transcendent as soon as possible. Zhou Jie understood this point, and his desire to become a transcendent grew stronger than ever. But even so, Zhou Jie's mind was still clear. He knew that becoming a transcendent was not something that he could just talk about. Even if he was confident that he could raise his strength to the level of pseudo-level in 10,000 years, he might not be able to become a transcendent in the next 10,000 years. To become a transcendent, the most important thing was to be able to fuse with the universe's origin law and create one's own law. If one could not comprehend one's own law, then no matter how much he raised his strength, it would be useless and he would not become a true transcendent. With the next goal, Zhou Jie moved to another place and re-entered the Six Paths world. This time, he had great determination to step into the level of Tao creation before coming out. At the same time, in the void, the gray and white silhouettes were still sitting opposite each other. Their eyes were originally closed, but at this moment, they opened almost at the same time. Not bad, little guy. He passed the dreamy test, but the next test might be fatal. After the gray silhouette opened its eyes, it transmitted its thoughts to the white silhouette. The white silhouette just looked at the gray silhouette as if it did not hear it. How many moves do you think he can take from a transcendent? 1 move or 2? The gray silhouette continued. Why can't it be 3 moves? The white silhouette asked. That's what you said. You seem to have a lot of confidence in him. If he can withstand 3 moves, I'll give him another opportunity for you. The gray silhouette actually smiled and transmitted his thoughts to her. The white silhouette ignored it and closed its eyes silently. Seeing this, The gray silhouette also closed its eyes. Time flew, and in the blink of an eye, another 13,000 years had passed. Zhou Jie did not even know how he spent such a long time in the Six Paths world. In short, he just cultivated, and cultivated again every day. When his goal was achieved, all this time had passed. The moment when he came out of the Six Paths world, Zhou Jie felt as if a lifetime had passed. This feeling was not unheard of in the past thousands of years of seclusion, but it was not as strong as this time. Not only because the time was longer, but also because Zhou Jie's strength had reached a bottleneck. As for the future, he could see less, and the world in his eyes had obviously become smaller. I wonder if I can break that barrier now. Maybe, Zhou Jie murmured to himself. Suddenly, his eyes flashed and he disappeared. When he reappeared, Zhou Jie was already at the entrance of the passage to the dimensional universe. It's really gone. Zhou Jie looked at the whirlpool-like passage and found that the previous barrier had disappeared without a trace. After thinking for a while, Zhou Jie was even more convinced that the previous barrier was not set up by the World King. After all, the World King wanted to kill him, so there was no reason for him to remove the barrier. Moreover, before Zhou Jie came, he had already checked that the World King should not be around. Now that he had appeared for a while, the World King did not appear, which proved that Zhou Jie's investigation result was correct. Without much hesitation, Zhou Jie chose to enter the passage and return to the seventh dimension universe. The passage between the central universe and the dimensional universe did not exist. It was artificially opened a long time ago as a passage that was easier to enter and exit between the two places. If one did not pass through this passage and wanted to go back and forth between the central universe and the dimensional universe, one would need to pass through the chaotic void between the two. The laws in the chaotic void were extremely chaotic. Even the Tao Creation Realm Emperor, you would find it difficult to distinguish the direction in it and endure the chaotic law storm for too long. Therefore, even with Zhou Jie's current strength, he would not easily choose to return to the dimensional universe outside of the passage. The passage was very long, and the space-time inside it changed at will. It was impossible to teleport. This also led to the fact that even if someone entered the passage together, if they did not deliberately connect together, they would not be able to sense each other and would lose each other. This was also why the position after leaving was a random stable space and not a fixed one. Although Zhou Jie was not in a hurry, he still used almost all his speed in the passage. Even if he was affected by the changes in space-time, he would still leave the passage within an hour. However, after traveling for about half an hour, Zhou Jie suddenly stopped. His eyes were wide open as he looked in front of him. His face was filled with unconcealable shock. Just a moment ago, the almost chaotic white world in the passage suddenly turned into a gray and black void. A young man in a gray robe slowly walked over from afar. In the blink of an eye, his figure constantly enlarged. Soon, he was less than 10 meters away from Zhou Jie. Chapter 456. Seeing the gray-robed youth closing the distance between them, Zhou Jie's pupils shrank fiercely. At the same time, he clenched his trembling right hand. Transcendent. He must be a transcendent. Zhou Jie stared at the gray-robed youth, almost roaring in his heart, and the aura in his body involuntarily became rapid. The gray-robed youth was none other than transcendent Shui Jing. At this moment, he was standing not far in front of Zhou Jie, looking at Zhou Jie with an indifferent expression. Although his eyes were calm, there was an invisible pressure that enveloped Zhou Jie, making Zhou Jie feel as if he was walking on thin ice. May I ask, Senior? My title is Shui Jing, Transcendent Shui Jing. The gray-robed youth interrupted Zhou Jie's question and said indifferently, as if there was neither joy nor sorrow. Hearing this sentence, Zhou Jie's pupils shrank again, but on the surface he still bowed his head and said, Junior Zhou Jie greets Senior Shui Jing. May I know why Senior is blocking my way? Rhodes is my disciple. You destroyed his avatar, so I wanted to kill you, but because of one person today, you only need to take 3 of my moves. If you can survive after 3 moves, I will let you go." Shui Jing looked at Zhou Jie, and a trace of doubt flashed in the depths of his eyes, but he said calmly. Hearing this, Zhou Jie couldn't help but feel his heart sink, and his face changed slightly, but then he asked, "Senior, can you tell me who is the reason?" Towards Zhou Jie's question, Shui Jing glanced at him from the corner of his eyes, revealing a trace of contempt as he said, "You don't have the qualifications to know right now. If you could take 3 of my moves, perhaps I will tell you." Zhou Jie was silent for a moment, and then he sighed and said helplessly, "If that's the case, then I ask Senior to make your move." Before he finished speaking, Zhou Jie's figure retreated rapidly, and he raised his hands and pointed a finger in each hand tens of thousands of times. Every time he pointed, a powerful restrictive force merged into the void, and in the blink of an eye, a large restrictive array formed around him. Shui Jing calmly looked at Zhou Jie with his hands behind his back, and after setting up the restrictive array, he used the indestructible demon body, 10,000 laws of heaven's 5 elements, Broken Star River's greedy wolf star map. Zhou Jie kept using secret techniques, setting up restrictions and arrays, and even prepared the chaotic demon sealing lock, but he still felt that it was not enough. The strength of a transcendent was something Zhou Jie had never really faced, but he still knew a thing or two. With his current strength, he could even be against a world emperor, but against a transcendent, he had no chance. Not even one could take one's 1 move. One's and 3 moves. Transcendent Shui's the transcendent Shui. Transcendent Shui Jing transcendent. Transcendent. Transcendent Shui Jing and transcendent and tranquil transcendent. Transcendent transcendent and even if it he and of him, if the transcendent transcendent and he was he. If that was the case, then he could only fight. Zhou Jie prepared for a full 10 seconds before stopping, but Shui Jing was still as calm as an ancient well. He seemed to think that Zhou Jie was not prepared enough, and wanted to give Zhou Jie time to prepare. But Zhou Jie did not move. He just stared at Shui Jing, waiting for him to make the first move. Shui Jing waited for about 3 seconds and did not see any movement from Zhou Jie, so he closed his eyes and said calmly, "First move." Zhou Jie was always ready, and when he heard the order, his eyes lit up and the several arrays and restrictions around him were all activated. At the same time, the dark void turned into a vast milky white, and a huge black finger broke through the void and pointed at Zhou Jie's head. The layers of restrictions that surrounded Zhou Jie were changing rapidly, and they were automatically multiplying. In the blink of an eye, they turned into countless layers of restrictions with different functions. Myriad arts of heaven, restriction life, and death. At this moment, Zhou Jie's eyes were also vast. As he muttered to himself, his body formed a world of its own, and the white void controlled by Shui Jing was completely excluded. Restriction life and death was a technique that Zhou Jie had created based on myriad arts of heaven. Its level corresponded to the level of origin of the 5 elements and 6-fingered demonic zither, and its power could be strong or weak. Within a certain limit, the longer the preparation time, the greater the power of the explosion. Its power could even surpass 6-fingered demonic zither. However, when the black finger fell, the faint golden light formed by the restrictions around Zhou Jie suddenly shook, and it quickly dimmed and shrank at a visible speed. In the short time of a breath, more than half of it dissipated. The speed of the huge black finger's descent was obvious when it came into contact with the restrictions, and then it pressed down at a constant speed, as if it was not affected by the restrictions at all. However, Zhou Jie did not expect the restriction life and death to be able to resist the transcendent attack for too long, so he prepared many methods. Without hesitation, he condensed the origin of the 5 elements into a giant 5-colored palm and grabbed at the black finger. Then, the greedy wolf star map was activated. Countless red starlight flashed out and stuck to the black finger. Then, as if something had been peeled off, it retreated and turned into a blood-colored finger that was almost identical to the black finger. The black finger continued to fall, and the golden light of the restrictions dimmed to the extreme. The five-colored giant palm immediately grabbed it, but as soon as the giant palm clenched, it cracked and turned into countless fragments that returned to nothingness. The black finger seemed to be unaffected and continued to fall. The blood-colored finger formed by the greedy wolf star map followed closely and touched the black finger. Zhou Jie had no time to pay attention to the result. He raised his hand and made a strange gesture. Suddenly, another illusory blue palm appeared behind him. This palm had 6 fingers, and it also made a strange gesture. An aura of nirvanic extermination pervaded the air. 10,000 methods to heaven technique, 6-fingered demonic zither. Almost at the same time, Zhou Jie's figure split into another him. He raised his hand and formed a seal, but it was another star map. Broken Star River technique, Army Destroyer star map. Being able to use the Army Destroyer star map meant that Zhou Jie's cultivation had reached the Tao creation realm. Emperor Yu, after using 2 saint techniques in succession, and they were more powerful than the previous 2, even the Shui Jing Transcendent could not help but be moved. Zhou Jie's strength and cultivation were much more terrifying than he had imagined. In particular, he knew that less than 20,000 years ago, Zhou Jie was just a little emperor, much weaker than his own disciple. But now, Zhou Jie was already a Tao creation realm Emperor Yu, and the disciple he was proud of, Roderick, was only a Tao-breaking realm Emperor Yu. In terms of combat strength, he was far inferior to Zhou Jie. Zhou Jie had escaped from the hands of the World Emperor when he was in the Tao-breaking realm, and he had learned this for the Transcendent. I still underestimated this boy, but whether it is for Roderick or myself, this boy must die. For the second move, I will use the secret technique. The Shui Jing Transcendent knew that his first attack could not kill Zhou Jie, or even seriously injure him, so he thought to himself. In fact, this was indeed the case. The Shui Jing Transcendent's first move was just a simple finger, and he did not use any divine ability or secret technique. Although it still had the power to kill an ordinary Tao creation realm Emperor Yu, it was far from enough to hurt Zhou Jie, who was well prepared. Once Zhou Jie used his true strength, even the ancient divine emperor would be amazed. After colliding with the bloody finger, the Shui Jing Transcendent's finger showed a trace of instability for the first time. But under the Transcendent law, the bloody finger collapsed upon contact, and the black finger quickly absorbed the power after the bloody finger's collapse to restore and strengthen itself. It was precisely because Zhou Jie saw the tyrannical nature of Transcendent laws that he didn't hesitate to expend his mental energy. He instantly used the holy technique Nirvana Split Avatar to display 2 holy techniques in order to destroy the black finger in one fell swoop. The 6-fingered Guqin demon's 6-fingered palm flicked 6 times, and each time, a different finger flicked. The 6 fingers on the palm collapsed after each flick, turning into a terrifying force that engulfed the black finger, constantly shaking it and forcibly preventing it from recovering. The Alcade star chart transformed into a silver-gray giant sword and slashed at the black finger. In the end, the black finger was split in half from head to tail. Under the destructive power of the 6 fingers, the black finger completely collapsed and quickly disappeared. After doing all this, Zhou Jie turned back into a single person, and his whole body's aura was quickly concealed as he began to prepare for the next explosion. The Shui Jing Transcendent looked at all this silently, and although his face was extremely indifferent, his heart was not calm. Very well, for the second move, I will use the secret technique, and I will give you 10 breaths of time to prepare. The Shui Jing Transcendent said coldly, as if he was pronouncing a death sentence. Zhou Jie's face was solemn, and without waiting for the Shui Jing Transcendent law to finish his sentence, he madly made a series of seals, and at the same time, took out the heavenly plan sword to act as the array eye of a karmic wheel. When this array was used, it would be Zhou Jie's peak performance in array formation. Chapter 457. After setting up the karma rotation array, Zhou Jie pressed between his eyebrows, extracting the power of law he had condensed and infusing it into the Heavenly Plan Sword to activate the Heavenly Plan Sword's killing move that he had comprehended. Then, Zhou Jie closed his eyes and pointed up with his right hand. Suddenly, the originally white void turned pitch black. He was also preparing the extreme night technique. Under Zhou Jie's intense preparation, 10 breaths of time quickly passed. At the 10th breath, Zhou Jie suddenly pointed at the Heavenly Plan Sword and actually took the initiative to attack the Shui Jing Transcendent. Heavenly Plan Containment Technique. The containment technique was a killing move that Zhou Jie had comprehended from the Heavenly Plan Sword. It was very powerful, especially since it was invisible and traceless. Those who were not of a high enough realm would have no way of resisting it. However, in front of the Shui Jing Transcendent, the containment technique that was guided by the power of karma had nowhere to hide. It was not a threat at all. However, Zhou Jie's initiative to attack made the Shui Jing Transcendent feel that he was overestimating himself. Therefore, he coldly snorted and used a secret technique at the end of the 10th breath. Passage of time. The Shui Jing Transcendent did not move. Instead, a trace of disappointment appeared on his face. At the same time, a strange and vast energy surged out in all directions, sweeping towards Zhou Jie. Wherever it passed, the karmic energy formed by the traction technique seemed to be constantly drained of its power, fading and disappearing at an extremely fast speed. Before the binding killing technique could even reach transcendental Shui Jing's body, it suddenly disappeared without a trace. This caused Zhou Jie to be a little surprised, but he knew that this was definitely transcendental Shui Jing's second move. Such a silent and formless attack was even more terrifying. Heavenly Plan, Spirit Defense Shield. As Zhou Jie rapidly thought, he relied on the Karma Rotation Array to use the second secret technique of the Heavenly Plan Sword. This technique had no offensive power and was purely for defense. Together with the Karma Rotation Array, its defensive power was extremely terrifying. In Zhou Jie's senses, everything outside the causal rotation magic circle was rapidly blurring. In the beginning, he only felt that everything he sensed was being strangely extracted and disappeared. But soon, he was shocked to find that it was not only the laws and materials outside the magic circle that were being extracted, but also his own perception. Zhou Jie found it hard to describe this feeling. It was as if he had withdrawn his perception, but after withdrawing it, it had suddenly disappeared into thin air. He did not know where it had gone. Before he could be shocked by all this, the water mirror technique was used on the karma rotation formation that Zhou Jie had set up. It was still silent, but Zhou Jie's expression changed in an instant. His entire body tensed up, and he subconsciously activated the power of the Spirit Defense Shield and the array formation with all his might. As it turned out, under the Transcendent Water Jing's weird technique, the causal cycle array began to weaken, and the law of causality inside was extracted and disappeared. It was like a framework that was built by wooden stakes as thick as a person's leg at the beginning, but it was made of wooden sticks as thick as a finger at the moment. It was the same for the Spirit Defense Shield. It did not seem to have any effect at all. Its light was quickly dimming and gradually disintegrating. In the second after all this happened, Zhou Jie suddenly woke up and saw through the spell of the transcendent water mirror. It is not being extracted and disappeared, but it is being divided and reversed before it is destroyed and returned to nothingness. After all, the causal rotation formation and the Spirit Defense Shield were personally controlled by Zhou Jie. When the two of them disappeared in such a weird way, Zhou Jie soon discovered the source. The water mirror technique was essentially a technique to reverse time and space based on the law of time and space. When the transcendent power reversed time and space were infinitely divided, so that all of Zhou Jie's secret techniques could be further disintegrated and reversed. It was like a giant rock that could not be blown into the sky, even if a hurricane could not blow it away, but it could be easily blown away after it was reduced to powder. The reversal after that was like the giant rock was originally made of elements, but after it was divided, it was broken down again until it returned to the basic state of elements and returned to its original position. Zhou Jie's technique was exactly like that. It was first divided and weakened as a whole before it was destroyed back to its original state. If Zhou Jie did not pay close attention, he would not have noticed it at all. What a great technique to reverse time and space. But even so, there's a limit to its exhaustion. Daybreak. Zhou Jie did not have time to think of a countermeasure. He simply used his most powerful attack to break the technique with brute force. The combination of the polar night and daybreak was a transcendent arcane technique. Dawn. In the darkness, a streak of dazzling golden light spread out with the power to melt everything. The law of the dawn technique was similar to the water mirror technique's time and space reversal. They were both transcendent secret techniques. Originally, the power of the dawn technique was even greater than that of the water mirror technique, but Zhou Jie's cultivation was not transcendent enough, so he could not perform the technique perfectly. In the end, he could only barely offset the power of the water mirror technique. The dawn technique collapsed, and the destructive power of the time and space reversal was almost exhausted. In the end, it worked on Zhou Jie's indestructible demon body and only tore it apart a few times. But in fact, although the indestructible demon body quickly recovered after being torn apart, it still meant that Zhou Jie was seriously injured. However, compared to the indestructible demon body that was directly affected by the time and space reversal, it was much better. The moment the indestructible demon body was torn apart and healed, Zhou Jie grunted and his body trembled slightly. At the same time, he closed his eyes and quickly adjusted his breath. 1 second later, Zhou Jie opened his eyes and looked at the water mirror technique with his burning eyes. He said, "Senior, I have one last move." The water mirror technique looked gloomy, but he closed his eyes and said coldly, "I'll give you 20 seconds to prepare for the third move." Hearing that, Zhou Jie was not happy at all. After thinking for a while, he immediately began to prepare for the third move. Does the water mirror technique want to kill me? His first move was obviously to test me. I'm afraid that even a half-step transcendent could survive it. Although the second move is very strong, it doesn't have any follow-up power. It can only be considered to have reached the threshold of transcendent strength. The strength that I used when preparing is not inferior to that of a pseudo-realm expert, so I was only slightly injured and was able to block it. But if the third move is even stronger, I still have the chaotic demon sealing lock. If he isn't determined to kill me, I might be able to survive it. At the very least, I still have the immortal blood that can revive me. This is something that even the water mirror technique doesn't know. Zhou Jie thought quickly as he prepared. However, he soon realized that it was useless to think too much about it. Some of his guesses could only be obtained from the water mirror technique after he survived the third move, or from other sources in the future. 20 seconds passed quickly. During this time, Zhou Jie set up 9 restrictive formations in succession. One of them was the Karma Rotation Formation. In addition, he was also prepared to use Nirvana to instantly cast the 2 holy techniques, shattering the Milky Way and Omniscient technique. After 20 breaths had passed, Shui Jing Transcendental Master was still standing there without moving. However, it was as if dawn had broken behind him. A ball of milky white daybreak light slowly appeared and connected the void. It was as if everything in the void was that ball of daybreak light, or perhaps that ball of daybreak light was the void itself. Zhou Jie felt that he was trapped in it. A great pressure engulfed him. No matter how the formations set up around him operated, they could not offset it at all. After the water mirror technique was cast, Zhou Jie suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity. He could not help but be surprised. In the next moment, the white light behind the water mirror technique turned into a milky white mirror. It was tens of thousands of feet long and wide. The moment it appeared, a sense of illusion arose spontaneously in Zhou Jie's heart. Zhou Jie's mind seemed to be completely occupied by the light mirror, and he could not get rid of it. The virtual world, seeing one's nature, heart-killing technique. Zhou Jie instantly understood where the sense of familiarity came from. It was because the technique that the water mirror technique cast was similar to this self-killing technique in the virtual world. Although the so-called self-killing technique was regarded as an illusion in the virtual world, it was actually real. On one hand, it had to break the mind of others and make them sink into self-destruction. On the other hand, it had to assimilate the laws of heaven and earth and turn them into an attack that could destroy everything. Each of the two was a killing technique. When combined, the power was unimaginable. In a short moment, Zhou Jie thought of the heart-killing technique and also had a way to deal with it. However, the so-called way to deal with it was equivalent to risking one's life. Whether it would succeed or not, Zhou Jie did not have the slightest confidence. Chaotic demon sealing lock sealed the body, soul, and life. Zhou Jie did not hesitate at that moment and chose the only way he could think of to deal with it. Roar! Without warning, Zhou Jie burst out with a deafening roar. His eyes were hazy, indicating that his consciousness had fallen into chaos. Chapter 458. At this moment, Zhou Jie's consciousness was completely submerged in the transcendence heart-killing art. He could no longer cast the saint technique that he was prepared to cast. He could only allow himself to be enveloped in a dazzling white light without any resistance. The chaotic demon sealing lock that had turned into a black chain on the surface of his body suddenly trembled, helping to resist the white light's purifying and destroying power. At the same time, Zhou Jie's consciousness was completely controlled by the illusion. However, unlike the usual illusions, his consciousness was very clear that he was in an illusion. He also knew that his godly body was still fighting with the transcendent and was facing an unprecedented crisis. However, the illusion of the virtual world was so real. Everything that it created was real to the consciousness. This was not a reality in the sense of deceit, but it could be said to be completely real. The virtual world was a world created on the level of the soul consciousness. It could not directly affect the body, but to the soul consciousness, it was like the entire world to the mortals. At this moment, in Zhou Jie's consciousness, he was in a horrifying scene that resembled hell. There were flying flames, blood, and broken limbs everywhere. There was a huge demonic hand that grabbed at him. Zhou Jie felt like he was an ant that was about to be crushed after being grabbed and crushed. He could not resist at all. However, this thought only appeared for an extremely short moment. Zhou Jie calmly closed his eyes. In fact, in the virtual world, Zhou Jie's consciousness existed. There was no such thing as closing his eyes. Even if he wanted to close his eyes, logically speaking, everything he saw would not change. However, when Zhou Jie really closed his eyes, everything in front of him disappeared. However, this did not mean that Zhou Jie's vision became pitch black. On the contrary, what Zhou Jie saw at this moment was a light wheel like the rising sun, emitting endless white light. It was as if everything that Zhou Jie was in just now was dispelled by it. 10,000 years ago, when Zhou Jie entered the Six Paths world to cultivate in the Six Paths, he had learned about the relationship between Shunwei Dao and Divine Soul Dao from Zhou Longwei. When the two were cultivated to the end, they would be as inseparable as the Divine Physique Dao and the Divine Martial Dao. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that the two could be any one of them. The Divine Might Path mainly cultivated the power of one's consciousness, which was the core of one's soul origin. At the very beginning, Zhou Jie knew that consciousness was like the body of one's soul origin, which was the same as the body of one's soul origin. At the end of his cultivation, Zhou Longwei told Zhou Jie that the final stage of the Heart Force secret technique, the virtual world, was also closely related to the divine power. If the power of consciousness was a saber, then the soul was the person who wielded the saber. In other words, the essence of a soul attack was actually an attack on one's consciousness. The soul was only at the end. When one's consciousness was strong enough, any soul attack would be ineffective. On the contrary, the soul attack could be used for one's own purposes. Zhou Longwei also gave an example. He said that the universe did not have a soul, but it had consciousness. The consciousness was the foundation for the operation of the laws. Cultivators used their souls to drive the laws. Because their consciousness could not compare to the consciousness of the universe, they could not surpass the laws of the universe and control the laws of the universe. If someone's consciousness was above the consciousness of the universe, then they could become the controller of the entire universe. This was what Zhou Longwei told Zhou Jie. It was what the divine ancestor of the Zhou clan said himself. Therefore, the virtual world was also targeted at the consciousness. When one understood this and consciously resisted it, and Zhou Jie's cultivation of the path of divine power was also quite accomplished, the virtual world was no longer so terrifying. As long as Zhou Jie's consciousness could resist the consciousness of the transcendent attack of the water mirror, the virtual world would collapse on its own. When Zhou Jie closed his eyes just now, he used his consciousness to resist the consciousness attack of the transcendent master. Therefore, everything in the virtual world was ineffective against him. However, this was not enough to completely destroy the transcendent master's virtual world and allow Zhou Jie's consciousness to escape. Therefore, Zhou Jie prepared a counterattack. Perhaps this is a miracle. The moment Zhou Jie opened his eyes, the virtual world disappeared without a trace. He also opened his eyes and saw that his divine body was being destroyed crazily, even though he had sealed the power of his divine body with the chaotic demon sealing chain. However, at this moment, Zhou Jie did not feel the slightest pain. His expression was extremely calm, and his eyes were extremely deep like the sea of stars. He looked at the transcendent master in the distance and muttered, "The ultimate profound of the divine spell. Virtual God." As the name suggested, the virtual God spell was the god of the virtual world. Being able to use this spell meant that Zhou Jie had also comprehended the virtual world. Before this, Zhou Jie was not only unable to use the virtual god, but he was also close to the virtual world. All these changes happened in an instant. Therefore, Zhou Jie called it a miracle. Some things, once comprehended, would be comprehended. It would only take a single thought. Zhou Jie used the virtual god spell and immediately created a virtual god world with himself as the center. In this world, he was the virtual god and could be said to be omnipotent. If I want to be immortal, my divine body will be immortal forever. With this thought, Zhou Jie's divine body, which was constantly collapsing under the bright white light, began to rapidly regenerate and recover. As a result, the white light continued to weaken while Zhou Jie's divine body maintained the balance of being immortal. The transcendent master felt the change in Zhou Jie, and his eyes revealed a trace of unconcealable shock. Then, a sinister look flashed in his eyes. "This kid must be killed. My third move is not over yet." The moment the transcendent master thought this, a majestic transcendent power merged with the white light that was destroying Zhou Jie's divine body. In an instant, Zhou Jie's divine body began to collapse again at a speed several times faster than before. In a breath's time, half of it had been eliminated. In reality, the transcendent master's third move did not have any follow-up. Everything was because he was determined to kill Zhou Jie. Therefore, he did not hesitate to lie to himself and attack again. Strictly speaking, this was already the transcendent master's fourth move. This time, he did not give Zhou Jie any time to prepare. The heart of a tiger and a wolf was as clear as day. "Shui Jing, you didn't keep your promise." Zhou Jie realized that the transcendent master had attacked again. At the same time, he could not resist and could not help but roar. At the last second, Zhou Jie simply gave up resisting. Instead, he chose to open a space passage and threw all the important items on him into it. When Zhou Jie was in the state of using the virtual god technique, his strength was comparable to a transcendence. Therefore, he was able to break through the space layer between the central universe and the dimensional universe without triggering the punishment of the universe's law chains. When a transcendent used transcendent power in the dimensional universe, including the space passage, they would be sealed by the universe's law chains. The stronger the transcendent power they used, the greater the damage they would suffer from the law chains. Even with the transcendent master's strength, if he used transcendent power for 5 seconds, there was a possibility that he would die under the law chains. The transcendent master only wanted to kill Zhou Jie. At the same time, he was also afraid that he had secretly disobeyed the orders of the Leaf family's divine ancestor. Therefore, he did not care about the items on Zhou Jie's body. In his opinion, there was nothing on Zhou Jie that was worthy of his attention. Even the heavenly plan sword was not worthy of his attention. However, the moment the transcendent master destroyed Zhou Jie's body, his expression suddenly changed. He looked at the void where Zhou Jie had disappeared. His expression was uncertain, as if he had noticed a fact that he could not accept. Zhou Jie is not dead yet. On the other hand, after Zhou Jie's body died, the immortal blood hidden in the depths of the void origin realm erupted with endless law energy. As it flowed, it transformed into Zhou Jie's appearance again. The process of Zhou Jie's formation lasted for hundreds of years. The moment he opened his eyes, Zhou Jie's divine body was complete, and his cultivation had also recovered to the late stage of the Tao creation realm. Shui Jing, if I don't take revenge for this, I'm not a man. This was the first sentence Zhou Jie said after opening his eyes. Then he left the alternate dimension and went to look for the things he had lost in the depths of the spatial layer. The Six Paths world was among them, and he had to get it back. During the hundreds of years that Zhou Jie had recovered his cultivation, the white silhouette and the gray silhouette made a bet. In the end, the gray silhouette admitted defeat, and a great fortune approached Zhou Jie and revealed its brilliance. As early as one day in the 20th year of Zhou Jie's recovery, in the fourth dimensional universe where Zhou Jie was located, something happened that was enough to shake the entire universe. A huge star continent appeared out of thin air, and its great power directly destroyed the space of a relatively barren star field. Later, after the investigation of a universe Emperor Realm experts, it was determined that this star continent was the ruins of the legendary Zhou clan's sacred ground that had disappeared. Chapter 459. With the marks he left on the Six Paths world and the other items, Zhou Jie searched in the space mezzanine for nearly 7 years before he finally found everything. There were only 4 items in total: the Inheritance Ring, the Six Paths world, the Heavenly Plan sword, and the Chaotic Demon sealing lock. The rest of the treasures were either abandoned or destroyed by Zhou Jie. When Zhou Jie finally found the Six Paths world, he discovered an extremely strange wave that appeared in the Six Paths world. It seemed to be guiding him to a certain place. After Zhou Jie left the space mezzanine, he used the Heavenly Plan sword to deduce the law of cause and effect. Finally, he found the source of the wave and headed there. In the dimensional universe, Zhou Jie's strength stood at the peak level. His speed was also at the same level. With just a thought, he could cross the galaxy. With such speed, Zhou Jie only spent a dozen seconds to arrive at the shattered void where the Zhou clan's sacred grounds ruins were. The Zhou clan's sacred grounds ruins contained a great power that caused the space around it to shatter into spatial faults. Many imperial emperors found it difficult to cross. At the very least, they needed the strength of a late-stage imperial emperor to safely enter the continent where the Zhou clan's sacred grounds ruins were located. In the past few hundred years, not to mention the fourth dimensional universe, most of the experts in the other dimensions and even the central universe knew about the appearance of the Zhou clan's sacred grounds ruins. Therefore, countless experts swarmed over. However, at least 30% of the cultivators could only return in disappointment. This was because they were not strong enough to reach the surface of the Zhou clan's sacred grounds ruins. Some even died in it. However, the remaining 70% of the cultivators were mostly late-stage imperial emperors. There were more than 2,000 of them. All of them entered the sacred grounds ruins, trying to obtain the opportunities, treasures, and even inheritances of the sacred ground. When Zhou Jie appeared less than 10,000 miles away from the Zhou clan's sacred grounds continent, his expression was filled with shock. At that moment, he was even stunned. Zhou Jie sucked in a breath of cold air as he stared fixedly at the incomparably huge, starry sky continent in front of him. In his mind, he had already thought of an answer that he found hard to accept. Why would the Zhou clan's Holy Land relic appear here? After a while, Zhou Jie could not help but wonder. Then his eyes flashed, and he had a vague guess. Although it was not completely accurate, Zhou Jie believed that it had something to do with the water mirror transcendent and the transcendent who had trapped him in the illusion of the virtual world. What's going on behind the scenes? Everything seems to revolve around me. I'm not dead. The person behind all of this must know. Zhou Jie thought silently in his heart. Suddenly, he felt a deep sense of powerlessness. It was as if his fate was being controlled by someone else, and he had no way to resist. Perhaps the answer can be found in the ruins of the Holy Land, Zhou Jie said to himself as he closed his eyes. After a short while, Zhou Jie's figure vanished, and when he appeared once more, he'd already descended to the border of the hallowed grounds continent. Because the space around the hallowed grounds ruins was completely shattered, no light from the outside world could enter. There was also no light source in the hallowed grounds ruins, so everywhere was pitch black. The strength of one's senses also determined the size of one's vision. After arriving on the hallowed grounds continent, Zhou Jie felt that the Six Paths world's ripple between his eyebrows was getting stronger, guiding him to a certain place deep within the continent. Zhou Jie did not think too much about it. He ran at full speed, almost ignoring the pressure of the hallowed grounds ruins. In less than a breath's time, he arrived at a huge square. This was a circular square with a diameter of over 1,000,000 kilometers. The edge of the square was mostly occupied by countless huge statues. These statues included weapons such as sabers and swords, as well as humans and other races. With his senses, Zhou Jie even found some familiar figures, ancient gods, celestial giants, and Ao Shur, just like Safuli. In the middle of the square, there was a 10,000 feet tall statue. It was a handsome and elegant man. He wore a simple sackcloth, barefooted, and his long hair fluttered behind his head. His hands were clasped behind his back as he looked at the sky. His eyes were bright like torches, and his expression was solemn. With Zhou Jie's cultivation level, he immediately realized that the statue was actually a teleportation seal. Through it, he could enter a certain place. This man, could he be the Zhou clan's saint ancestor? Zhou Jie guessed in his heart. Then he stopped thinking about it and took a step forward, disappearing without a trace. Not long after Zhou Jie's disappearance, four figures appeared above the statue. One of them was the World Emperor. The other three, with the World Emperor, were also Tao Creation Universe Emperors. Each and every one of them was once famous. Among them, there was even a man in a purple robe. He was the fake-level Qi practitioner that stood side by side with the ancient Saint Emperor. This group of four people was also headed by the man in a purple robe. After appearing, the man in a purple robe took out a jade seal treasure. At the same time, he said in a deep voice, "Let's begin." The other three Universe Emperors, including the World Emperor, immediately responded. They spread out with serious expressions. Together with the man in a purple robe, they each took out a dark green token. After crushing it, they madly made hand seals. Obviously, they were going to jointly display some kind of powerful secret technique. The man in a purple robe urged the jade seal treasure and also made hand seals to cast the technique. The four Tao Creation Realm Qi practitioners had been preparing for nearly 3 minutes. Only then did they complete the preparation of the secret technique. Finally, the man in a purple robe gathered the strength of the other three people and injected an unimaginable huge energy into the jade seal. The jade seal trembled and transformed into a strange beast that was millions of feet long. It opened its mouth and swallowed the statue below. The statue disappeared strangely, and when the strange beast swallowed, the man in a purple robe and the other three people had already retreated millions of miles away. This was why they were not affected by the swallowing power. After doing all this, the man in a purple robe came to the front of the world emperor and threw a ball of light to him. A beautiful woman was sleeping in it. If Zhou Jie saw it here, he would definitely be shocked. This woman was none other than Su Yoyu, who had the most interaction with him besides Long Shui. This is what I promised you. Enjoy it well. I hope you can reach the pseudo-realm soon. The man in a purple robe said in a deep voice after throwing the ball of light. When the world emperor saw the woman in the ball of light, his eyes revealed a trace of passion. However, he quickly concealed it. He nodded slightly to the man in a purple robe and cupped his fist. Thank you, Master Long. I also wish Master to reach the transcendent realm soon. Well, the mission has been completed. We'll take our leave first. The man in a purple robe said calmly. Without waiting for the world emperor to make a statement, he turned and disappeared. When the other two Tao Creation Realm emperors saw this, they also left. They didn't even say anything to the world emperor. Obviously, they didn't have any friendship. They just followed the man in a purple robe to complete the mission. After the man in a purple robe and the others left, the world emperor raised his head and looked at Su Yuyu. The desire in his eyes was no longer concealed. I only need to make a breakthrough in the Tao of Soul to reach the pseudo-realm and even reach the transcendent realm. The law blood of this goddess race's goddess contains the transcendent law of the soul illusion. It is a great help. I only need to cultivate it well for a while. Moreover, this woman has a close relationship with this Zhou Jie. Her first blood was obtained by him. Unfortunately, this Zhou Jie actually provoked the Li family's sacred ground. Now, he is sealed in this ruin and can no longer come out. Zhou Jie is also the disciple of the Ancient One. I hate the Ancient One. Being able to play with this kind of junior's woman is also a happy thing. For a moment, the world emperor thought so in his heart. He couldn't help but feel happy. After putting away the ball of light that sealed Su Yoyu, he couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha, Ancient One, wait until I become a transcendent. I will trample you under my feet. The statue in the center of the sacred ground ruins was swallowed and sealed. This shocked almost all the experts in the ruins and attracted most of them to come and watch. But even the Universe Emperor Realm experts didn't gain anything after coming to the center of the sacred ground ruins. Previously, they knew that there was a statue here, but they couldn't enter it. Now that the statue was gone, this place was even more worthless for them to explore. On the other side, Zhou Jie didn't know that after entering the statue, he was sealed and couldn't leave. He appeared in a white world. Under his feet was a gray disk that was 1,000 meters in diameter. What is this place? Zhou Jie was secretly puzzled. At the same time, he used his perception to size up his surroundings. However, he found that once his perception touched the white fog outside the disk, he immediately felt nothing. Chapter 460. Could it be? Zhou Jie suddenly thought of a possibility, one that Zhou Longwei had mentioned unintentionally. There were many alternate dimensions in the Zhou clan's sacred ground. For example, the Six Paths world was a medium that led to the Six Paths world. The place that Zhou Jie had arrived at with his inheritance ring was an alternate dimension created for the Zhou clan's saint child. Due to the uniqueness of the inheritance, the alternate dimension had long since self-destructed. The most mysterious alternate dimension in the Zhou clan's sacred ground was the one that was used to select the clan leader, the origin world. Could this be the origin realm? Zhou Jie thought to himself as he flew over to the edge of the platform and looked out. In the white mist outside the platform, a few milky white chains could be vaguely seen. They extended from the edge of the platform and disappeared into the white mist. Just as Zhou Jie was hesitating, a loud boom sounded in his mind. Then an extremely distant voice sounded in his mind. "Child, come, come, come. I will be waiting for you in the center. This is your destiny, or perhaps your destiny." Upon hearing this voice, Zhou Jie couldn't help but be shocked. He was sure that he had never heard this voice before, but he felt a sense of familiarity and familiarity. Is this the Zhou clan's divine ancestor? Zhou Jie immediately thought. This was only a fleeting thought that flashed through Zhou Jie's mind, but he immediately received an answer. That gentle male voice rang out again. "It's me, child. Hurry up and come to me. This is the origin-seeking realm. Walk to me, and you'll be able to comprehend my saint technique, origin-seeking. The first of the 7 saint techniques, the origin world." Zhou Jie murmured unconsciously. A longing that he hadn't felt for a long time rose in his heart. As if he had found a riddle, he immediately stepped to the edge of the platform and lifted his foot to step into the void outside the platform. But just as Zhou Jie was about to step into the void, the Zhou clan's divine ancestor's voice sounded in Zhou Jie's mind like thunder. "Grasp your heart and see your nature. Don't let the universe's consciousness drown out your own consciousness." As soon as the voice sounded, Zhou Jie's foot stopped. A hint of struggle appeared in his eyes, but soon they shone brightly. What a terrifying origin consciousness! Zhou Jie was scared after he woke up. He realized that when he was listening to the words of the divine ancestor of the Zhou family, his consciousness had been quietly invaded, and he had fallen into a very strange state of confusion. He was controlled by his instinctive desire and almost fell off the platform. If one stepped onto a platform in the origin-seeking realm, they would lose themselves and sink into eternal pain until the origin-seeking realm automatically expelled them. In the end, the nightmare of failure would hinder the loser's origin-seeking realm, making it impossible for them to transcend mortality and become a saint. Thus, it was said that the origin world was a great opportunity, but it was also a great risk. If one succeeded, then Emperor you would be able to transcend mortality and attain sainthood. But if one failed, then one would be left with nightmares that would obstruct the advancement of one's cultivation. Child, guard your mind. Try to comprehend the chains with all your heart. I'll be waiting for you at the center. The voice of the Zhou's sacred ancestor sounded again. Zhou Jie thanked the sacred ancestor in his heart before following the instructions of the Zhou family sacred ancestor. After focusing his mind, he chose a white chain that extended outward from the platform and stepped onto it. After stepping onto the chain, Zhou Jie's mind shuddered. At the same time, he was shocked to discover that his senses were being stretched out uncontrollably. Furthermore, everything that he sensed gave him an unprecedented shock. Origin-seeking realm. Origin-seeking realm. So that's how it is. The consciousness of the origin of the universe is the origin of all laws. If I want to be on par with it, then I have to ask it. Once I understand everything that the origin of the universe is thinking, then I can become an existence on par with the origin of the universe. Or I can control it. After Zhou Jie stepped onto the chain, he could clearly sense all kinds of laws. Almost all of these laws were laws that he had comprehended before. It was just that now, in a strange form, they allowed him to comprehend them again. In addition, this kind of comprehension of the origin world was a kind of integration. Even though Zhou Jie had comprehended the laws of the Tao creation realm, because of the short amount of time, he was unable to truly master them. It was like studying mathematics. Even if he knew the formulas and algorithms, solving problems would be easy. However, he was unable to analyze the essence of the formulas and algorithms, and he was unable to truly innovate everything. Thus, he stopped in front of the origin. Zhou Jie's first step paused for more than 10 minutes before he took the second step, the third step. As Zhou Jie continued to move forward, everything he perceived also changed. It was as if there were countless teachers, each dedicated to explaining a problem. Zhou Jie would welcome thousands of such teachers to analyze thousands of problems for him every step he took. However, Zhou Jie had already understood most of these problems, so he could quickly comprehend them. His footsteps did not stop as he walked forward. However, as Zhou Jie took more and more steps, the further he was from the initial platform. His footsteps became slower and slower. In the beginning, he took more than 10 minutes to adapt and comprehend. After a few minutes, he took more than 10 steps. Gradually, it became 10 minutes before he could take a step, and the time for each step was still increasing. Morwen Star Region, Ancient Mystic World. The Ancient Mystic World was created by the World Emperor. Like the Sealed Realm, it had naturally evolved life forms. After countless years of evolution, it had also given birth to a large number of cultivators. When these cultivators were strong to a certain extent, they would suffer the world's heavenly tribulation. Those who passed the heavenly tribulation could ascend and come to the island group where the World Emperor was, Heaven Realm. Every life form in the ancient mystic world who arrived at Heaven Realm would receive the reward of the World Emperor and become stronger. Therefore, Heaven Realm was the holy land in the hearts of countless life forms in the ancient mystic world. Every cultivator who knew of the existence of Heaven Realm had ascension as their ultimate goal. In fact, after the life forms in the ancient mystic world ascended, they were equivalent to the Emperor Realm powerhouses in the outside world. However, once they left the ancient mystic world, they would lose the support of the world's power. The cultivation of these ascenders would fall severely. Only those who went further could maintain the strength of an early-stage Emperor Realm. In Heaven Realm, hundreds of ascenders had appeared over the years, but only about half of them could maintain the strength of an early-stage Emperor Realm after leaving the ancient mystic world. However, none of them had ever left the ancient mystic world. They didn't even know that there was a wider universe outside the ancient mystic world. In their eyes, the ancient mystic world was everything, and the mysterious World Emperor, the master of Heaven Realm, was a supreme existence that could not be disobeyed. At this moment, in the palace hall of an island group in the deepest part of Heaven Realm, the World Emperor was looking at the light ball where Su Yoyu was, and the corner of his mouth revealed a satisfied smile. With this array and the soul force extracted from the sealed realm to nourish this woman, her law blood will be reborn within 100 years. At that time, it will be my opportunity to break through. The World Emperor said to himself proudly and couldn't help but nod. Dowie. Then, the World Emperor suddenly turned around and everything behind him blurred. Disciple is here. Almost as soon as the World Emperor finished speaking, a middle-aged man in a black robe appeared in front of him, knelt down on one knee, and said respectfully, this black-robed man called Dao. He was the only remaining direct disciple of the World Emperor. He was known as the Heavenly Emperor Dao Yi. His strength was not inferior to the World Emperor after fusing with his avatar. He had the strength of a pseudo-universe Emperor Realm. Arrange it. 100 years later, I will have an imperial concubine. Invite all the cultivators above the Emperor Realm in the core of the Second Dimension universe to come to a banquet to celebrate this matter, the World Emperor said in a deep voice. At the same time, an imperceptible cold light flashed in the depths of his eyes. Although Dao, he was extremely surprised when he heard this. The World Emperor's expression was very clear. He didn't dare to ask anything, so he immediately replied, Yes, Master. This disciple will do it now. After Dao Yi left, the World Emperor could no longer hide the excitement in his heart. He couldn't help but open his mouth and laugh. Of course, he didn't have any good intentions when he invited the Emperor Realm cultivators of the 62-star regions to a banquet. After all, Su Yoyu was just a cultivation cauldron for him to break through. Even if he made her his concubine, there was no need for him to host such a grand banquet. In the end, the World Emperor only wanted to devour the Emperor Realm cultivators when his breakthrough failed. He wanted to further ensure that he reached the breakthrough point so that he could go to the central universe to complete the final step, which was to become an extraordinary expert. Time passed silently. On this day, 99 years had passed since Zhou Jie entered the Origin World. On this day, he finished walking the chain and stepped onto the central platform. Chapter 461. The central platform wasn't big, only about 300 meters in radius. An illusory white figure was sitting cross-legged at the center, waiting for Zhou Jie for a long time. This white silhouette was a middle-aged man with silver hair that reached his shoulders. He had a scholarly appearance, but under his calm eyes, there was a kind of indifference that belonged to the world. Zhou Jie was stunned at first, but then he cupped his hands and said respectfully, "Junior Zhou Jie greets the divine ancestor." The white figure was indeed the divine ancestor of the Zhou clan. Seeing Zhou Jie salute, he smiled and said gently, "Come here, child. Sit down across from me. I have something to tell you." Zhou Jie sat down cross-legged in front of the Zhou clan's divine ancestor. He opened his mouth and was about to say something when the Zhou clan's divine ancestor said, "Child, I didn't expect you to reach here so quickly. You are indeed very good. Now I think you understand what the origin of the universe is and how to transcend mortality and enter sainthood." Zhou Jie couldn't help but nod. While looking solemn, he also showed a hint of admiration for the divine ancestor of the Zhou clan. It was very difficult to become transcendent. Not to mention that the probability was so small that it was almost incalculable. Even if the number of universe emperor realm cultivators was taken as the base, the probability was shockingly small. The ancient divine emperor had been a pseudo-realm expert for tens of thousands of years, but he still hadn't become transcendent. Part of the reason was that he didn't go to the central universe to make the breakthrough, because he was afraid of being exposed, and part of the reason was that he wasn't 100% sure. Most of the experts who became transcendent didn't know how they did it. Since ancient times, there had been people who became transcendent before reaching transcendent, and there were also people who were stronger than the ancient divine emperor but still couldn't become transcendent. It seemed that every transcendent who became transcendent thought that they became transcendent after comprehending all the laws in the world and fusing with the origin. Very few people realized that the most important part was the fusion of the origin of the universe with the mind. Almost all of the people who can't become extraordinarily is the lack of the idea to integrate the original law. After all, to be able to cultivate to Tao creation realm, the law is certain to be all perfect. On the other hand, the inquiring origins created by the Zhou clan's sacred ancestor allowed people to experience the domination of the laws by their consciousness, as well as the movement of the universe's origin laws under the universe's origin consciousness, thereby revealing the secret of ascending into extraordinary. The fusion of the consciousness with the origin laws was the foundation of becoming extraordinary, and the process of inquiring origins would allow people to sharpen their consciousness and understand everything about the fusion of the consciousness with the origin laws. All that was left was to put into practice. Therefore, once one finished cultivating the inquiring origin technique, one's chances of transcending mortality and entering sainthood would be greatly increased. It could even go from 1 in 10 million to 50%. Once the origin-seeking technique was completed, he could attempt to step into transcendence. If he succeeded, he would succeed. If he failed, he would face the risk of losing his life in the process of breaking through. If he could survive, he could attempt to break through again. Now that Zhou Jie had finished cultivating the inquiring origin technique, he was confident he could break through to transcendence. Similarly, according to his understanding, entering the saint realm was also a fusion of the universe's origin laws, but to a higher degree. After perfectly integrating the universe's origin laws, one could enter the saint realm. There are some things I need to tell you. You need to be mentally prepared. The Zhou clan's sacred ancestor changed the topic, his eyes meeting Zhou Jie's as he said. Zhou Jie's heart trembled when he heard this, guessing that it might be related to the revival of the Holy Land. Although he was worried, Zhou Jie still nodded solemnly. Just when Zhou Jie thought the Zhou clan's sacred ancestor would continue, he sighed slightly and said, "Child, do you know why only the Li clan's sacred ancestor and I have reached the saint realm?" Zhou Jie could not help but be taken aback when he heard this question and was about to shake his head and say, I don't know, when the Zhou clan's sacred ancestor continued. In fact, it is because the universe's origin consciousness can only bear the will of two Saint Realm Masters and cannot bear the appearance of a third. I'm not dead. As soon as the statement came out, Zhou Jie was shocked again. He thought that the Zhou clan's sacred ancestor's light phantom here was just a wisp of his soul, but the Zhou clan's sacred ancestor said he was not dead. How could this not surprise Zhou Jie? Zhou's sacred ancestor continued. When I reached the end of the path to becoming a saint, I thought that all I needed to do was to place my consciousness above the original consciousness of the universe. Then, I would be able to control the universe and reach the ultimate level above becoming a saint. In fact, I was not the only one who thought so. The Li clan's sacred ancestor also thought so, but when I tried to control the universe's origin consciousness, I found that it seemed to be contaminated by some foreign will. This made me and the Li clan's sacred ancestor somewhat cautious, neither of us daring to take the risk of trying to control the universe's origin consciousness. But who can resist the temptation of surpassing the Saint Realm forever? In the end, I was the first to try to control the universe's origin consciousness, but I failed and was injured by the foreign evil will, causing my cultivation to plummet. Speaking of which, child, you should also know why the war between the two holy lands broke out. That's right. After the Li clan's sacred ancestor discovered that my cultivation had plummeted, he wanted to devour my will to strengthen his will and then control the universe's origin consciousness. Therefore, he started the Holy Land War, which led to the destruction of my Zhou clan's holy land. However, the Li clan's sacred ancestor did not expect that although he defeated me and devoured my power, he could not erase my will. As a result, my will is still alive, and with his permission, I can still use the power of the Saint Realm. Child, you should be very confused about what happened before. In fact, it was a bet between me and the Li clan's sacred ancestor, and I was the one who won in the end. That was why he allowed me to control the power of the Saint Realm and brought the Zhou clan's holy land ruins here, all for the sake of helping you become a transcendent or even a saint. Hearing this, I think you must be curious as to why the Li clan's sacred ancestor would allow you to grow into a transcendent or even a saint. The reason is simple. He devoured my power, but found that it was not enough for him to eliminate the foreign will and control the universe's origin. Therefore, he hoped that you could become a new saint with my help, and then he would fight you. If you lost, he would naturally devour you to strengthen his power, and only then would he have the confidence to control the universe's origin. However, if you won, it would be the other way around, and you would have the chance to control the universe's origin. Child, I know that you are shocked by all of this, but you have no choice. Even if you know that it would be difficult for you to defeat the Li clan's sacred ancestor after becoming a saint, this is your only chance, and also my only hope. Child, I have to tell you a truth that the Li clan's sacred ancestor does not know. When I failed to control the universe's origin, the fundamental reason was that I was no match for that foreign will. The Li clan's sacred ancestor had never truly tried to control the universe's origin, and he did not know how powerful that foreign will was. It is a power that makes one despair, and it could trigger the most painful things in the depths of one's heart, awaken what one desires the most, and send one into madness. If I had not prepared a clone and obtained the imperishable blood from the Ancient One as a guide to preserve a shred of my own consciousness, I would have died then. The Li clan's sacred ancestor was cautious and only dared to probe the foreign will in the universe's origin many times, but he did not dare to fight it, giving me a chance to take advantage of. This time, I made a promise with him that I would fuse my will with you. After that, I would truly die, and you would have the chance and assurance to become a saint. As for whether you could succeed in the end, it would be up to you. In fact, even if you failed, the Li clan's sacred ancestor would still help you become a saint. After all, you would be the one with the greatest hope of becoming a saint after receiving all of my will, and he would not go back on his word. Lastly, child, of course I hope that you win, but even if you win, do not try to control the universe's origin. That foreign will is too terrifying. And even if the Lee clan's sacred ancestor wins and devours you, he would not be able to get rid of that foreign while controlling the universe's origin. And in the end, it might become its nourishment. Moreover, I suspect that the foreign will ultimately destroy the universe's origin, and when that happens, every living thing in this universe would face the harshest calamity. I can't think of any way to resolve that calamity, and perhaps I can only hope that one of you and the Lee clan's sacred ancestor would one day come up with a solution. Chapter 462. Hearing this, Zhou Jie's expression changed slightly. After a moment of hesitation, he said, "Divine Ancestor, I have another question." "Go ahead." The Zhou clan's divine ancestor responded indifferently. Zhou Jie swallowed subconsciously and asked, "If a person's true spirit disappears in the true spirit river, is there a way to revive it?" The Zhou clan's divine ancestor never expected that Zhou Jie would ask such a question at this time, instead of caring about what he was talking about. As such, his brow furrowed slightly, and after a moment of silence, he replied, "In theory, it should be possible, but that would require a breakthrough to the Saint Realm and full control of the universe's source consciousness." Zhou Jie couldn't help but fall into a daze when he heard this answer. Surpassing the Saint Realm meant that he would need to defeat the Lee clan's divine ancestor and devour his power. Only then would he have a slim chance of getting rid of the foreign consciousness and completely fusing with the universe origin consciousness. This was almost impossible. Seeing Zhou Jie's reaction, the Zhou clan's divine ancestor understood what Zhou Jie was thinking, but he didn't try to comfort him. Instead, he said indifferently, "Child, time is running out. Prepare to accept my inheritance. You still have things to do next, and I don't want you to regret it." What I need to do next?" Zhou Jie was very surprised and couldn't help but ask hurriedly. But the Zhou clan's divine ancestor only smiled faintly and didn't answer. The figure of light quickly blurred and brightened. An extremely vast power erupted from the Zhou clan's divine ancestor and poured into Zhou Jie's body. Zhou Jie didn't resist and couldn't resist. He actively and passively accepted the inheritance of the Zhou clan's divine ancestor. His cultivation continued to rise and soon reached a limit. The sacred ancestor clearly knew that Zhou Jie wouldn't be able to absorb the power of his inheritance all at once. Moreover, he wouldn't be able to break through to the transcendent realm without being in the central universe. Thus, when Zhou Jie's cultivation reached the limit of the universe emperor realm, the remaining power of the sacred ancestor transformed into a milky white crystal that sank into Zhou Jie's forehead and disappeared. At the same time, Zhou Jie's consciousness was constantly being drawn and extended until it reached the ancient Xian world. Ancient mystic world. There was less than half a day left before the world emperor announced the date of his concubine marriage. A large number of cultivators at the imperial emperor realm and above were invited, and the ancient profound world became very lively. Within a room in the depths of the world monarch's palace, Su Yuyu wore a tight white silk dress, and her breathtaking and graceful curves and large expanses of snow-white skin were completely exposed. Coupled with the complicated markings of the laws on the surface of her skin, even an imperial monarch would be infatuated and unable to extricate himself from her beauty. Why are you still frowning? If you can't remember those bad things, then don't think about them." At a certain moment, the world monarch's voice suddenly rang out, and then the world monarch appeared beside Su Yuyu in a luxurious black robe. His eyes were as deep and calm as the stars as he looked into Su Yuyu's eyes. When their eyes met, Su Yuyu's body suddenly trembled, and a trace of a painful struggle appeared in her eyes. Then she calmed down, and, as if she had just seen the world monarch appear, she hurriedly bowed and saluted. "Master, you're here." The world monarch smiled and nodded, but then he said, "All right, from today onwards, you and I are husband and wife. You don't have to call me master anymore." As he spoke, the world monarch raised his hand and stroked Su Youyu's face, and a trace of lust flashed in the depths of his eyes. Yes. Su Youyou hesitated for a moment and replied. She didn't know why, but at this moment, she felt inexplicably flustered and even a little scared. The world monarch seemed to have seen through the changes in Su Youyou's heart, and his brows furrowed slightly. He secretly snorted in his heart. This goddess is so infatuated with that brat. Even after I sealed her memories, she can still feel that something is wrong, and is even afraid of me. Whatever, as long as I can make her willing to dual cultivate with me, everything can be discussed. After a long time, she will have a good impression of me and get used to the feeling of losing her memories. All right, get ready. After I finish my lecture, you and I will have our wedding. The world monarch put away the trace of displeasure in his heart and smiled at Su Youyou. Seeing that she nodded in agreement, the world monarch laughed and left. Looking at the place where the world monarch disappeared, Su Youyou's face revealed a trace of pain. What did I forget? Why do I feel so unfamiliar with Master? Su Youyou tried hard to remember something, and the back of a person seemed to appear in her mind, but when she wanted to see clearly, she couldn't get close. Origin-seeking realm. Zhou Jie woke from the inheritance, and in the instant that he opened his eyes, an invisible pressure spread out, causing the entire origin-seeking realm to tremble violently. However, this was not entirely caused by Zhou Jie. Part of the reason was that after the death of the sacred ancestor, the origin-seeking realm automatically began to collapse, and Zhou Jie's pressure only accelerated the process for an instant. Youyou. A cold light flashed through Zhou Jie's eyes. At this moment, he understood what the sacred ancestor had said to him. You still have things to do, and I don't want you to miss them and regret it. Han. Zhou Jie stood up. The origin world seemed to be unable to endure the pressure emanating from him, and it started to collapse completely. The platform beneath Zhou Jie's feet shattered and quickly transformed into nothingness. Meanwhile, Zhou Jie had already vanished. Zhou Jie appeared in a vast expanse of white space. He was just about to leave when he discovered that this expanse of space had been sealed off from the outside by some unknown power. Zhou Jie understood that someone had sealed off the statue he had entered from, and this was definitely not a coincidence. Zhou Jie had no time to think. With a flip of his hand, the heavenly plan sword viciously stabbed into the depths of space. There was no sound, but the heavenly plan sword was sent flying back. This caused Zhou Jie to frown. The sealing power of the outside world had exceeded his expectations. My strength has already reached the pseudo-realm, and a casual strike of my sword can't even shake this sealing power. It looks like the person behind this really did come prepared. Zhou Jie thought to himself, but his hands did not stop moving. The heavenly plan sword flew out again, and its power was clearly much greater than the first time. However, Zhou Jie's second strike was still unable to break through the seal, and it only shook it slightly. This caused Zhou Jie's expression to become much more solemn. After pondering for a moment, Zhou Jie used the indestructible demon body, and black chains appeared on the surface of his body. Primal Chaos Demon Sealing Lock, Primal Chaos Heaven Splitting. While Zhou Jie was attacking the seal, the Realm Emperor was preaching. This was the reward. He had invited many cultivators above the Imperial Emperor realm to attend the wedding, and it was also because of this that so many people came to attend the wedding. Well, I'll start with this preaching. After you witness this emperor's wedding, this emperor will continue to preach for 10 years. The Realm Emperor stood on a high platform and said to the hundreds of cultivators who came to attend his wedding. As soon as he finished speaking, several cultivators of the Universe Emperor realm below the platform stood up to congratulate the Realm Emperor and directly presented gifts. With this opening, the cultivators who had prepared gifts began to present their gifts one after another. The World Emperor was already prepared for this. After accepting everyone's gifts with a haha, he gave everyone a thumb-sized purple ball of light and said, "This is a little bit of cultivation comprehension of this emperor. According to the different realms of everyone, there will be different gains. Consider it as a return gift from this emperor to thank everyone. Everyone, please accept it." As a result, everyone below the platform was overjoyed. A small number of cultivators of the Imperial Emperor realm who did not present gifts also received the light ball from the realm emperor. They were all terrified, but they did not dare to make a last-minute effort to present their gifts. In their opinion, the realm emperor would not care about small figures of the early and middle stages of the Imperial Emperor realm. It was the same whether they gave gifts or not. However, they did not expect that the realm emperor would give gifts to them instead. This inevitably made them panic. However, the realm emperor really did not care whether the people below the platform gave gifts or not. After all, in his eyes, they were just dead people. Well, now, this emperor will invite out the imperial concubine for everyone to see. Little you, the realm emperor said to everyone with a smile, and then he turned his head and called out to Su Yoyu. As soon as the realm emperor finished speaking, the void not far from him tore apart and formed a vortex, and Su Yoyu, who wore a white gauze dress, walked out from it. Chapter 463. After Su Yoyu appeared, there was a trace of unconcealable sadness on her face, and there was no smile at all. But when they saw Su Yoyu, all of them were shocked, and they were instantly stunned on the spot. For a moment, the audience was silent, but the realm emperor smiled with great satisfaction. Just as he was about to say something, his face suddenly changed, almost as the realm emperor's face changed, and at the same time, he looked up at the distant membrane of the heaven realm. A dazzling red light burst out from the membrane of the heaven realm, like a fiery red arrow tearing through the membrane and penetrating in. Without saying a word, the world emperor transformed a huge black shadow that was hundreds of thousands of feet long behind him. With the appearance of this black shadow, the heaven realm instantly turned pitch black, leaving only 9 huge balls of milky white energy floating there. Under the reflection of each other, they formed a huge protective array. "Who dares to break into my wedding place?" The realm emperor let out a roar containing terrifying power and went straight to the red arrow energy that pierced the membrane of the heaven realm. Rumble! The red arrow pierced the protective array, and at the same time, it was hit by the realm emperor's roar. Its forward momentum was stopped, and it quickly collapsed and disappeared without a trace. After the red arrow collapsed, Zhou Jie's cold and angry voice echoed in the sky. "Realm Emperor, what did you do to Su Yoyu?" Under Zhou Jie's question, everyone under the stage was stunned, and the Realm Emperor's pupil shrank, and then he said coldly, "It's you, although I don't know how you came out. Do I need you to tell me how to marry a concubine? Su Yoyu is the concubine chosen by me, and she is willing to serve me as her master. What does this have to do with you?" As the Realm Emperor spoke, he did not notice that after hearing Zhou Jie's voice, Su Yoyu's body trembled, and her eyes were filled with confusion, as if her mind had fallen into a blank. On the other side, although the Realm Emperor was a little surprised by Zhou Jie's appearance, he could sense that there was still some time before Zhou Jie would come here. The attack just now was the space-time that Zhou Jie used with the 8th realm of myriad arts of heavenly mastery. At that time, Zhou Jie was still in the 4th-dimensional universe, and the attack had already arrived outside the ancient mysterious world. Therefore, the Realm Emperor was not too panicked. After all, he now had the conditions to break through to the transcendent level. As long as he was willing, he could immediately achieve the strength of the pseudo-transcendent in the dimensional universe. He was invincible below the transcendent level, which also meant that he was invincible in the dimensional universe. He was not even afraid of a dream transcendent, so why should he be afraid of Zhou Jie? Through the karma connection of the Realm Emperor's words, and Zhou, he was furious, Zhou was Realm Emperor, hand over Su Yoyu. Otherwise, when I arrive, it will be the moment of your death. Zhou Jie's words were transmitted to the heaven realm through karma, and the Realm Emperor and the others heard it clearly. except for the Realm Emperor and Su Yoyu. Almost everyone's face turned pale. They wondered where this hothead came from, daring to say such laughable words. After all, even a pseudo-transcendent expert would not dare to say that he could kill the Realm Emperor in his hometown. The Realm Emperor relied on the large array and the resources he had set up in the Heaven Realm for countless years, and he was strong enough to contend with a pseudo-transcendent. Hearing Zhou Jie's threat, the Realm Emperor's face turned ugly. Although he also thought that Zhou Jie's words were ridiculous, he had lived for so long, and being cautious was a habit. In his opinion, Zhou Jie knew his strength and dared to say such words. Obviously, he had something to rely on, so he had to be prepared for it. So the Realm Emperor coldly snorted and said, "Ridiculous! This emperor is waiting for you here. If you dare to come, this will be your burial ground." Before the Realm Emperor finished speaking, a cold light flashed in his eyes, and the hundreds of thousands of feet of black shadow behind him suddenly turned into a black sea, silently swallowing all the cultivators below the stage in an instant. Under the battle array that the World Emperor had been planning for a long time, none of the Emperor Realm cultivators who came to participate in the wedding could resist for a moment. After they died, they became nourishment for the World Emperor, and several Universe Emperor Realm cultivators were caught off guard and couldn't resist for long. A second before Zhou Jie arrived outside the Heaven Realm, they also became a part of the World Emperor's cultivation. Xiaoyu, offer your blood of laws to this emperor, quick. While devouring everyone below the stage, the Realm Emperor turned his head and roared at Su Yoyu. His avatar appeared and pounced on Su Yoyu. The Realm Emperor's avatar was like a real entity. Naked, he wanted to have sex with Su Yoyu to seize her blood of laws. But at this moment, half of the Heaven Realm seemed to have collapsed. A large piece of the wall directly collapsed and disappeared. A pair of huge blue eyes appeared and replaced the sky. These were the eyes that Zhou Jie had created with a magical ability. When they appeared, the void fluctuated violently, and a huge pressure that shook the soul descended. Under this extremely terrifying soul pressure, the Realm Emperor's expression changed instantly. Just as he was about to touch Su Yoyu, his avatar collapsed. At the same time, Su Yoyu came back to her senses. The struggle in her eyes completely disappeared, and a cold light appeared in her eyes. "Master!" Su Yoyu's first words after she came back to her senses were these two words. But this time, she did not shout for the Realm Emperor, but Zhou Jie. At the same time, the Realm Emperor's face turned ferocious. He grabbed at the air and sealed Su Yoyu in place. "Give me the blood of laws. Don't force me to use force." The Realm Emperor transmitted a message to Su Yoyu. His tone was full of threat. At this time, he naturally realized that Su Yoyu's memory had recovered under the impact of Zhou Jie's consciousness pressure. Generally speaking, the blood of laws of the goddess could only be completely absorbed by others if she voluntarily offered it. However, if the goddess herself was not taken into consideration, she could also forcibly obtain part of the blood of laws. Because of this, the effect of obtaining the blood of laws would be poor. It was tantamount to killing the goose that lays the golden eggs. Therefore, the Realm Emperor did not want to do this unless he had no other choice. However, in the face of the Realm Emperor's threat, Su Yoyu, who knew his thoughts, chose to seal her consciousness and divine body after a short consideration. This completely cut off the possibility of the Realm Emperor's further threat. Because of this, Su Yoyu could not hear any messages from the outside world. Because her divine body was sealed, it was even more difficult for the Realm Emperor to forcibly obtain the blood of laws. Moreover, after forcibly obtaining it, the damage to Su Yoyu would be even greater. "Bitch, you're courting death." The Realm Emperor realized this and could not help but roar in anger. However, just as the Realm Emperor finished roaring and was about to forcibly obtain Su Yoyu's blood of laws, the scene in the area he was in suddenly changed. The originally damaged void turned into an airspace filled with a blood-colored storm. This blood-colored sky region was the void world that Zhou Jie had created using his heart force secret technique. It represented a dense, killing intent, and if an ordinary late-stage Cosmos Emperor realm cultivator were to enter it, their mind would be instantly destroyed, and they would die. However, for the realm emperor, although the virtual world was strong, it was still not enough to kill him due to Zhou Jie's cultivation. Especially under the obstruction of the protective array, it was difficult to even stop him for a few seconds. However, what Zhou Jie wanted was these few seconds. Even if it was just 1 second, it would be enough. Roar. The World Emperor let out a roar in the virtual world. Countless gray shadows mixed with purple crystal-like fragments appeared in the void, tearing the entire virtual world apart. At the same time, Zhou Jie arrived outside the heavenly realm. Within the heavenly realm, a huge protective array completely appeared and turned into a dark purple, transparent diamond, protecting the realm emperor. Zhou Jie did not hesitate at all and directly used the extraordinary arcana technique that he had long prepared, Dawn. With Zhou Jie's current strength, the Dawn technique was infinitely close to extraordinary power. It even triggered the pressure of the universe's origin law to descend and limit its power. The Realm Emperor was shocked and did not care about forcibly obtaining the blood of laws. He swallowed the divine bodies and soul origins of many cultivators in one gulp and directly turned them into a protective force that was injected into the array to resist Zhou Jie's Dawn arcana technique. Zhou Jie, you're crazy. A mere cauldron dares to make an enemy out of me. The Realm Emperor felt that Zhou Jie's terrifying attack had almost destroyed the array that he had been operating for tens of thousands of years. He was shocked and angry at once and roared. However, the Realm Emperor received an even angrier response from Zhou Jie. Shut up, she's my woman. No one can touch her. Before he finished speaking, the protective array of the heavenly realm suddenly shattered, revealing the stunned Realm Emperor inside. Chapter 464. The reason why the World Emperor was stunned was not because of Zhou Jie's words, but because of the instant collapse of the protective formation. It was so fast that he could not even react. It was so fast that he began to doubt himself. What had just happened? It turned out that at that moment, Zhou Jie's body seemed to have been unsealed, and a pure, extraordinary power erupted. He only threw a punch at lightning speed. It seemed that there was no secret technique contained in it, but the protective formation was directly broken. Then, the World Emperor once again fell into the virtual world. Above his head was a blue-purple chaotic sky, and below his feet was a huge black and red vortex. A destructive pressure shrouded the World Emperor, making his scalp tingle. Impossible, impossible. This is extraordinary power. I am in the dimensional universe. How can there be extraordinary power? This goes against the original consciousness of the universe and should not exist. The World Emperor screamed crazily in his heart and mobilized all his power to break this virtual world. However, he was horrified to find that his power seemed to be suppressed and could not be released at all. Just as the World Emperor was in fear, the bluish-purple sky above his head was suddenly pierced by a few illusory green chains. It was violently torn apart, causing the entire virtual world to rumble continuously as if it was going to shatter in the next second. At the same time, Zhou Jie, who was dressed in black, appeared above the sky. On his body, countless illusory green chains pierced into him, as if to seal him. When the World Emperor saw this, he could not help but gasp and said in a trembling voice, You are crazy, extraordinary. You dare to break through to the extraordinary level in the dimensional universe. And you actually did it? Impossible. This is impossible. This is all fake. Break everything for me. With the World Emperor's roar, he activated his Life Emperor weapon and burst out a terrifying energy comparable to extraordinary power. The virtual world, which was about to be torn apart, began to shatter in an instant. Zhou Jie's body was pierced by the green chains, causing him incomparable pain. Zhou Jie's aura was very unstable, but his eyes were extremely cold and contained a trace of madness. He seemed to slowly raise his right hand, and his body instantly turned pitch black. He was using the eternal demon body to its limit. Under the state of the indestructible demon body, Zhou Jie's body was rapidly being destroyed and restored. In this state, Zhou Jie pointed at the World Emperor from a distance. At that time, the World Emperor was bursting with all his power and was in a state of madness. Even a pseudo-extraordinary expert would be shocked if they saw him. However, when Zhou Jie pointed at him from a distance, his body trembled and his face was filled with disbelief. Everything in the virtual world that he was in instantly turned pitch black, as if the area he was in had been erased and no longer existed. Myriad arts of heaven span, total annihilation. With a single finger, all 10 sides were destroyed, with the transcendent power obtained from breaking through to the transcendent realm. Zhou Jie used the ultimate move of this holy technique for the first time, erasing the World Emperor and the virtual world together. However, after this finger, Zhou Jie's body trembled, and the terrifying aura and energy on his body dissipated like a tide. Amidst the roar of the universe, the countless illusory green chains on Zhou Jie's body disappeared in the blink of an eye, as if they had never appeared. Zhou Jie's aura also stabilized, and in the end, it was almost non-existent. After killing the World Queen, the Heaven Realm had already become a spatial ruin. Even calling it a ruin was a compliment. However, in this extremely shattered void, there was a small space that was still surprisingly stable. That was where Su Yoyu was. Zhou Jie appeared in front of Su Yoyu in a flash. After hugging her waist, he disappeared from this side of the void, disappearing from the ancient mystic world, Maoan Star region, Flower Planet. Zhou Jie also accidentally discovered a life planet called Flower Planet. Flower Planet was not big, only 5,000 kilometers in diameter. There was no ocean on it, only a large area of muddy wetlands covered by strange flower-shaped plants. Most of the land was also covered by beautiful flowers. In addition, there were no high-level intelligent life forms on Flower Planet, and the number of animals was very small. Almost all of them were flowers of various colors. Zhou Jie brought Su Yoyu to a sea of flowers on Flower Planet and woke her up there. When Su Yoyu heard Zhou Jie's call, her closed mind trembled. However, at first, she did not seem to believe that it was real and was still unwilling to open her mind. It was not until Zhou Jie tried to wake her up for the 5th time that she opened her eyes. When Su Yoyu saw Zhou Jie close by and the sea of flowers behind him, she was obviously stunned for a moment, but then she pursed her lips and shook her head. 2 lines of clear tears fell from the corners of her eyes. Zhou Jie looked at Su Yoyu like this. Although he didn't understand why she was crying, his heart seemed to ache for no reason, very, very much. I know this is all fake. Don't worry, Master. Su Yoyu will not be fooled. Aside from Master, Su Yoyu will not give the law blood to anyone. Su Yoyu looked at Zhou Jie and said this. More tears fell from her face. At this moment, Zhou Jie realized what Su Yoyu was thinking. It turned out that she thought that everything in front of her was an illusion, something that the world monarch had done to trick her into giving up the law blood. Su Yoyu's words made Zhou Jie's heart ache even more. It turned out that the woman in front of him truly loved him, even though he had hurt her again and again. Zhou Jie looked at Su Yoyu, and for the first time, his gaze was incomparably gentle. It was like a man looking at his beloved woman. So gentle. Your look? Zhou Jie seemed to hesitate for a moment before stiffly opening his mouth. At the same time, he raised his right hand, and a screen of light appeared in his palm. Scenes appeared on the screen of light. What was shown was the battle between Zhou Jie and the world monarch after Su Yoyu sealed herself, as well as when Zhou Jie brought Su Yoyu here. Seeing everything that was shown on the screen of light in Zhou Jie's hand, Su Yoyu was stunned for a moment. Her tears unconsciously stopped flowing and her lips quivered. I don't know how to explain, Zhou Jie timely said, When I learned that you were taken away by the world monarch, I was very worried. Zhou Jie suddenly fell silent, as if he had thousands of words to say, but did not know where to start. But Su Yu understood, so she smiled. Seeing that Zhou Jie was a bit embarrassed, she did not say anything. Instead, she floated forward and hugged Zhou Jie tightly. Zhou Jie did not resist, but after being hugged, his body subconsciously tightened. Then he came back to his senses and hugged Su Yu tightly in front of him. "I'm sorry, really. I'm very sorry," Zhou Jie said in Su Yu's ear. He suddenly felt that he was not himself, but he had found his true self. This feeling was very strange. Hearing Zhou Jie's words, Su Yu also felt that it was unreal, but she could not refuse, so she relaxed and murmured, "Even if this is all an illusion, Yu is willing." Su Yu's words made Zhou Jie feel a bit sorry, but he had already accepted it. He hugged Su Yu even tighter and said in her ear, "I will make you believe this is real. Let me tell you my story." Su Yu nodded, and the two separated from each other and sat in the sea of flowers. Zhou Jie began to tell his story. It was just like what he had told Leng Shui before, but it was longer. Zhou Jie's story was told for more than an entire day. After hearing it, Su Yu chose to believe that Zhou Jie was real and cried tears of joy. "In the future, I will accompany you, but I also hope that you can accept Shui. I promise to revive her." At the end of the story, Zhou Jie said to Su Yu, "Yes, as long as Yu can follow. Jocko, it's fine. I hope big sister Shui will accept me." Su Yu replied in response. In order to kill the world emperor, Zhou Jie did not hesitate to break through to the transcendent realm in the dimensional universe, surpassing the laws of the universe's origin consciousness and temporarily obtaining transcendent power. Because of this, he was restricted and injured by the universe's origin laws and needed a long time to recover. During this time, Zhou Jie planned to live a peaceful life with Su Yu. On one hand, he could recover his cultivation, and, on the other hand, he could continue to comprehend the inheritance consciousness of the Zhou family's divine ancestor and the origin-seeking technique. This was to strive to transcend mortality and become a saint as quickly as possible after entering the central universe. Time passed peacefully. On this day, more than 7,400 years later, Zhou Jie's peaceful life came to an end. Chapter 465. This day has finally come. Zhou Jie sat cross-legged on a rock in the forest and slowly opened his eyes. Zhou Jie was on an extremely ordinary planet with life in the seventh dimension called Earth Star. Yes, this was the place where Zhou Jie first met Frisia. About 100 years ago, Zhou Jie brought Su Yu and Kakashi here and lived on it in an extremely low-key manner until today. At this moment, Zhou Jie's consciousness had completed the final breakthrough. According to his plan, as long as he went to the central universe, it would be easy for him to break through to the transcendent level. He might even become a saint directly. As for whether he could succeed, he still had to try. When my consciousness is complete, it means that everything is complete. It's time to go to the central universe. Zhou Jie muttered to himself, and then looked up at the sky. The sun was bright and scattered through the layers of forest leaves, forming golden spots on the ground. Zhou Jie sighed in his heart and disappeared from the giant rock. When he reappeared, he was already beside a mountain stream. A little boy wearing denim shorts and a denim top was standing in the middle of the stream, holding a harpoon and looking around. Obviously, he was fishing. Beside the stream stood a woman with a hot body. She wore a pair of skinny jeans and a white short-sleeved shirt that exposed her navel. Her long pink hair was tied up neatly behind her head, making her look neat and tidy. These two people were Kakashi and Su Yu. Today, Zhou Jie brought them here to play. Zhou Jie was suddenly inspired and went to the side to cultivate for a short while. He didn't expect that he would reach the great perfection directly. Su Yu sensed Zhou Jie's return. When she turned around and saw Zhou Jie, she immediately smiled and said, "Jocko." Kakashi also turned around. When he saw Zhou Jie, he waved his hand excitedly and shouted, "Jocko, I just caught a fish. Wait for me to catch 2 more. Let's have grilled fish for lunch." Zhou Jie first smiled at Su Yoyu and then said to Kakashi, "Today's schedule is quite full. We'll have grilled fish in the future. We should go now. Accompany me on a trip to the past." Huh? Kakashi was obviously stunned when he heard this. For a moment, he seemed to be confused. However, Zhou Jie had clearly made up his mind. Without waiting for Kakashi's reply, he waved his hand, and the harpoon in Kakashi's hand and the bucket on the shore disappeared without a trace. The fish in Kakashi's harpoon also returned to the stream and swam in the water, unharmed. Before Zhou Jie went to the Central Universe, what he wanted to do the most was to visit his home universe with Su Yoyu and Kakashi again. He wanted to see all the places he had been to before: Planet of Slaughter, Planet of Sun, Planet of Dragon Pulse, and even Planet of Zergs. Zhou Jie brought Su Yoyu and Kakashi to visit one by one. Every time, he would briefly introduce these places to Su Yoyu, but he would not stay for too long. With Zhou Jie's speed, he could reach any place in the 7th dimension in just a few seconds. Therefore, it only took him less than half a day to bring Su Yoyu and Kakashi to visit almost all the places he had been to before. After doing all this, Zhou Jie officially planned to go to the Central Universe. Su Yoyu had long heard from Zhou Jie that he wanted to go to the Central Universe one day because he wanted to transcend mortality and become a saint. He wanted to revive Lung Shui and have a fated battle with the Leaf family's divine ancestor, whom he had never met before. Su Yoyu wanted to stop Zhou Jie from making this arrangement. Of course, she hoped that Zhou Jie would hide in the Central Universe and never go there. That way, Zhou Jie could continue to live peacefully with her. It would be fine even if millions of years passed. However, Zhou Jie wanted to revive Lung Shui and had also agreed to complete the fated battle with the Leaf family's divine ancestor. Therefore, Su Yoyu knew that it was impossible for Zhou Jie not to go to the Central Universe. All she could do was silently support him. However, Zhou Jie went to the Central Universe and asked Su Yoyu and Kakashi to wait for him in the 7th dimension. Although Su Yoyu and Kakashi were extremely unwilling, they could not disobey Zhou Jie's will. In the end, they parted ways with Zhou Jie in the 7th dimension. In the atmosphere of a certain life planet, Zhou Jie and Su Yoyu had just finished making love. "Jocko, you must come back." The naked Su Yoyu hugged Zhou Jie tightly. Zhou Jie's expression was calm, but his eyes were full of gentleness. He lowered his head and kissed Su Yoyu's forehead. Then, he said firmly, "Wait for me to come back." Zhou Jie left. At the edge of the 7th dimension, Zhou Jie's figure quietly appeared. He looked at the passage to the Central Universe, not far away, in the tall and straight figure in front of the passage. His calm gaze gradually became fierce. "Senior Sacred Emperor," Zhou Jie shouted. Sacred Emperor Egu, who was in front of the passage, did not notice his arrival immediately. It was only when Zhou Jie came behind him and called out that Sacred Emperor Egu was startled and turned around. "Lord Sacred Emperor." Sacred Emperor Egu turned around and bowed respectfully to Zhou Jie. He had met Zhou Jie again thousands of years ago. After learning about Zhou Jie's experience, he was deeply moved and agreed to go to the Central Universe with Zhou Jie. Today, Zhou Jie sent a message to Sacred Emperor Egu in advance and asked him to meet him in front of the passage. That was why this scene happened. After greeting each other, Zhou Jie and the Sacred Emperor Egu did not say much. They looked at each other with a serious expression and walked toward the passage together. Zhou Jie and Sacred Emperor Egu arrived at the Central Universe in silence. Because they did not deliberately connect, they were randomly sent to 2 different places in the Central Universe. This time, Sacred Emperor Egu and Zhou Jie came to the Central Universe with the same primary purpose, which was to try to become transcendents. Previously, Sacred Emperor Igu hid in the dimensional universe because of the existence of the Holy Ground in order to preserve part of the inheritance of the Zhou Holy Ground. But now, he learned about the scheme of the Holy Ground from Zhou Jie and realized that he had been overthinking in the past. The Li Holy Ground did not take him seriously at all, even if he became a transcendence. Although Zhou Jie and Sacred Emperor Yi Gu were separated, they were not too far away from each other and could still sense each other's presence. But both Zhou Jie and Sacred Emperor Yi Gu knew that it was not a good time to disturb each other, which was why they did not force themselves to stay together when they came out. Zhou Jie floated in the dark space of the universe and sensed quietly. He seemed to have discovered the vastness of the universe for the first time. This was not only because the central universe was indeed much bigger than the dimensional universe, but also because Zhou Jie felt the existence of the consciousness of the origin of the universe more clearly than before. After a long time, Zhou Jie felt that he was about to break through. His consciousness began to penetrate into the consciousness of the origin of the universe, and the two began a special communication. Zhou Jie started to walk forward in the universe. Every step he took was very ordinary, and each step he took was less than a meter away. However, every time Zhou Jie lifted his foot, the cosmic space within an extremely large range would undergo an earth-shattering change. But the frightening thing was that these changes could only be sensed by a portion of powerhouses at the Universe Emperor realm and above. From this point of view, the changes in the universe within a certain range where Zhou Jie was located were very subtle, but those who could feel it deeply would never think so. It was like a high-level Rubik's Cube that was restored under extreme disorder. Its appearance did not change at all, but the position of every component in it had undergone a great change. Time passed by, and Zhou Jie was still walking forward slowly. The distance of each step was exactly the same. It wasn't until Zhou Jie finished the 9,999th step that he stopped and opened his eyes. What kind of eyes were those? They were emitting a faint light, and it seemed that a complete universe was reflected in them. This universe was even operating according to a certain law, and all living things were integrated into it. It was as if there was another dimension of the universe in Zhou Jie's eyes. I want to transcend the mortal world and enter the divine world. I will transcend the mortal world and enter the divine world. Zhou Jie spoke in a firm tone, as if he was talking to himself. But just as he finished speaking, an incredible pressure suddenly descended on this part of the universe, and time and space rapidly changed. Zhou Jie felt the call from the origin of the universe, and he did not hesitate to send his consciousness into it. At that moment, Zhou Jie only felt a little dizzy, as if he could not bear it, but he vaguely seemed to see everything. Every scene and every living thing in the central universe and the dimensional universe seemed to appear in his consciousness. But because of the dizziness of his consciousness, Zhou Jie could only vaguely see and could not do anything. Chapter 466. This vague feeling of looking down on everything in the universe lasted for a while. Suddenly, Zhou Jie felt an extremely evil and cold aura, like gangrene attached to the bone, directly penetrating into the depths of Zhou Jie's soul origin consciousness. At that moment, Zhou Jie could not help but feel his soul tremble. What made him even more shocked was that it was not only his soul consciousness that was trembling, but also the consciousness of the universe's origin. Zhou Jie did not know why, but he could clearly feel that the consciousness of the universe's origin was wailing, like a baby that had suffered pain and could only cry helplessly. Zhou Jie knew that in the process of becoming a saint, part of his fusion with the consciousness of the universe's origin had occurred. This fusion was temporary, but it was extremely beneficial to Zhou Jie. As long as he could master the complete laws of the universe's origin at this time, he could become a saint expert. If Zhou Jie could even fuse with the consciousness of the universe's origin, he could even surpass it and reach the legendary realm above the saint. This was also the realm that the Leaf family's divine ancestor had always been pursuing. It was called the Eternal God Realm, which, as the name suggested, meant the God of the universe. As time passed, Zhou Jie could increasingly feel the fear of the consciousness of the universe's origin, as well as the continuous infiltration of the extremely cold and evil consciousness. Unprepared, Zhou Jie felt as if he had fallen into hell, and everything became the source of despair. In every short moment, Zhou Jie could feel endless cruelty and crazy desires, including the desire to kill, greed, lust, destruction, and so on. Although Zhou Jie had also experienced a lot of killing and had experienced the various states of the world in the illusion for thousands of years, he had never felt the terrible impact of all these thoughts so intensely. Its existence was beyond all illusions, even beyond human imagination. No matter how perfect the virtual world was, it could not be deduced. Moreover, it appeared directly in Zhou Jie's consciousness, and there was no way to resist it. The more time passed, the more Zhou Jie felt that he was going to go crazy. He wanted to kill, destroy, and immerse himself in the carnival of carnal desires, as if everything else did not exist. After losing his rationality, he would become a walking corpse, and his consciousness would become part of the evil consciousness, turning into nourishment to strengthen it. After an unknown period of time, Zhou Jie once again felt the wail of the universe's consciousness. It seemed to be asking Zhou Jie for help, and transmitted a trace of warm consciousness to help Zhou Jie recover some of his rationality. "I can't help you." Zhou Jie was terrified. The fear was beyond his control, causing his soul to tremble as he answered the consciousness of the universe's origin. Zhou Jie rejected the consciousness of the universe's origin for help. However, Zhou Jie soon realized that something was wrong with him. He seemed to be too afraid, which was also caused by the influence of the evil consciousness. His consciousness was simply deranged because of its influence. Zhou Jie could not even distinguish his own existence and who he was. "I should go." Zhou Jie forced himself to stay awake and transmitted his thoughts to the consciousness of the universe's origin. The wail of the universe's origin became even louder, constantly transmitting its consciousness to Zhou Jie for help. But Zhou Jie did not stop. He forcibly separated his consciousness from the universe's origin and returned to reality. The moment he opened his eyes, Zhou Jie still had lingering fear, and his eyes were filled with horror. At that moment, Zhou Jie was still a little confused about his own existence. That's the evil consciousness the divine ancestor mentioned. No wonder the Leaf family's divine ancestor, and he couldn't surpass the Saint Realm. I've also broken through to the Saint Realm now, but my consciousness is still far from being able to resist that evil consciousness. If I merge with the universe's origin, I will inevitably be infected by that evil consciousness and eventually become its helper, accelerating the destruction of the universe. Zhou Jie stood there, full of worry, not feeling the slightest joy of becoming a Saint Realm Master. After a moment of silence, Zhou Jie suddenly raised his head and looked into the distance. There was nothing there, but Zhou Jie's eyes seemed to have penetrated countless light years and met the eyes of another person who was looking at him. Zhou Jie knew that it was the Leaf family's divine ancestor. In the entire central universe, he was the only one who could make Zhou Jie feel it so clearly from such a great distance. It seemed to be saying to him, "I'm waiting for you here." Zhou Jie sensed it for a while, but did not respond. The Leaf family's divine ancestor's perception gradually disappeared. He did not seem to be in a hurry to fight Zhou Jie, and Zhou Jie was not in a hurry either. Then, Zhou Jie turned to look in the direction of ancient divine emperor. Although they were millions of light years away, he could still clearly feel that ancient divine emperor was breaking through to the transcendent realm. The movement was so great that it was completely different from Zhou Jie's silent state. "I've directly surpassed the transcendent realm and become a Saint Realm Master. Although my divine body doesn't seem to have changed much, my consciousness has already become a Saint Realm Master. It's easy for me to kill a transcendent realm master, but the Leaf family's divine ancestor must be even stronger. Although I have to be mentally prepared for failure, I promised you that I would go back, and I also promised that I would resurrect her. Unfortunately, even though I've become a Saint Realm Master, I still can't resurrect Shwe. The only way is to surpass the Saint Realm. I have to win the battle against the Leaf family's divine ancestor. Zhou Jie told himself. In fact, he was not confident that he could win. Besides, even if he defeated the Leaf family's divine ancestor and fused with his consciousness, it was hard to say whether he could get rid of the evil consciousness from the outside, successfully fuse with the original consciousness of the universe, and surpass the Saint Realm Master. Since there was no other way, Zhou Jie had to think of something. Because of this, Zhou Jie wasn't in a hurry to fight the Li clan's divine ancestor. Instead, he sat down cross-legged and entered a meditative state. At the same time, Zhou Jie created a doppelganger to deal with the aftermath. In the blink of an eye, more than 400 years had passed. Zhou Jie's original body was still sitting there, but his consciousness was very active. He was constantly running around to carry out his plans. Zhou Jie's doppelganger also left some instructions to ancient divine emperor, who had just become a transcendent, and then went back to accompany Su Yuyu, telling her most of his thoughts and plans. There were some things that had to be faced. On this day, Zhou Jie's original body stood up, and his doppelganger in the dimensional universe also disappeared. With one step, Zhou Jie teleported hundreds of millions of light years away and appeared in a magical realm where time and space did not exist. The moment he appeared, Zhou Jie's divine body was destroyed by the special laws of the realm, leaving only a human figure of golden light, which slowly walked into the depths of the realm. Not long after, a gray figure of light appeared in the depths of the realm, facing Zhou Jie's golden figure of light. In the blink of an eye, they were only a few meters apart. You're finally here. The gray figure of the Leaf family's divine ancestor seemed to be relieved. I'm here, but my opponent is not you, Zhou Jie replied. Oh, the Leaf family's divine ancestor did not expect Zhou Jie to say that. He was surprised. Your opponent is also not me, Zhou Jie said again. This time, the Leaf family's divine ancestor fell silent. He seemed to understand Zhou Jie's meaning, but he did not want to respond. Zhou Jie continued, If I fail, you have to devour me in time in the consciousness of the universe's origin. I don't want to become nourishment for that evil consciousness. What are you going to do? The Leaf family's divine ancestor asked urgently for the first time. He was obviously shocked by Zhou Jie's words. Zhou Jie did not answer. His idea was very simple. He had no confidence in fighting the Leaf family's divine ancestor, and he did not even have a chance of winning. However, he did not want to be defeated and devoured by the Leaf family's divine ancestor. Therefore, he chose to try to merge with the consciousness of the universe's origin in front of the Leaf family's divine ancestor. If he failed, the Leaf family's divine ancestor could take the opportunity to devour his consciousness and achieve his wish. He did as he said. In front of the light figure of the Leaf family's divine ancestor, Zhou Jie's golden figure of light suddenly blurred and then disappeared into nothingness. Is he crazy? The Leaf family's divine ancestor did not expect Zhou Jie to flee without a fight. He could not stop him and could only exclaim in shock. However, Zhou Jie did not hesitate to merge his consciousness with the consciousness of the universe's origin. He immediately felt the wail of the universe's origin and the invasion of that evil consciousness. For everything I protect, come, let me bear it for you. This time, Zhou Jie was prepared. With absolute faith, he chose to merge with the consciousness of the universe's origin. The consciousness of the universe's origin, helpless, chose Zhou Jie without any suspense. It was like a drowning person suddenly reaching out a hand to the drowning person, and the drowning person would unhesitatingly grab that hand. Chapter 467. Zhou Jie had completely predicted the reaction of a universe origin. This was also what he had gambled on, and it turned out that he had made the right bet. Zhou Jie's fusion with the universe origin went very smoothly, but at the same time, he felt the erosion of the evil consciousness more intensely than the last time. If it had been the last time Zhou Jie had suffered such erosion when he had become a saint, he would not have been able to withstand it for more than a few seconds before his mind would have been destroyed and he would have become nourishment for the evil consciousness. But this time, Zhou Jie was accepting the fusion of the universe origin at the same time. His consciousness origin was rapidly strengthening, so much so that he could resist the erosion of the evil consciousness for a while. But as time passed, Zhou Jie began to bear the pressure brought about by the fusion of the universe origin. The feeling was like Zhou Jie was a sealed bucket that could be expanded. As water was constantly added, the bucket was constantly expanding, and the more it expanded, the greater the pressure on the inner walls of the bucket. At the same time, he had to bear the pressure of the fusion of the universe origin and the erosion of the evil consciousness that was constantly strengthening. Although Zhou Jie tried his best to keep his mind clear, he also felt like he was on the verge of collapse. It was as if he would be consigned to eternal damnation if his mind wavered. Li Clan's holy land, Tomb Star Sea. On a huge river formed by bright, shining meteorites, the Li Clan's divine ancestor sat cross-legged in a black robe. He looked up, and there was a frightening cold light in his eyes. He's going to fuse with the universe origin just like that. Does he think he can resist the foreign consciousness? He's still too young after all. How foolish. The Li Clan's divine ancestor could not help but curse in his heart. Zhou Jie's actions had put him in a situation where there was no way out. Just as Zhou Jie had said, if Zhou Jie failed, the Li Clan's divine ancestor would have to devour his consciousness immediately. And because Zhou Jie had already fused with the universe origin, he would also be forced to fuse with the universe origin. Then, he would have to face the foreign evil consciousness and fight it to the death. He's dragging me down with him. The Li Clan's divine ancestor was somewhat angry. After all, no one had been able to do this to him for tens of thousands of years. Now, because of a junior, he had to face a life-and-death battle, and it was the kind that had a slim chance of survival. In fact, Zhou Jie had thought about this for a long time, more than 400 years, and finally made this decision because he knew that there was not much time. Through the feeling when he had become a saint, Zhou Jie could vaguely feel that the foreign evil consciousness was gradually fusing with the universe origin. The evil consciousness seemed to be slowly but steadily growing stronger. The Li Clan's divine ancestor had been hesitating for tens of thousands of years. Back then, the Zhou clan's divine ancestor had made a failed attempt. But according to his words, Zhou Jie deduced that he had not received the recognition of the universe origin and had not fused with it. This was the biggest reason for his failure. This time, Zhou Jie felt the universe origin's wail. He believed that the universe origin was like a stray dog and urgently needed a person to replace it. For this reason, it was even willing to give up its own consciousness. So Zhou Jie took a gamble, and in the end, he won. That was why everything was happening now. The Li clan's divine ancestor's consciousness had always been following Zhou Jie. He was not worried at all that Zhou Jie's consciousness, which had fused with the universe origin's consciousness, would harm him. This was because even if Zhou Jie had fused with the universe origin's consciousness, it would be difficult for him to resist the erosion of the evil consciousness. How could he still spare some consciousness to attack him? Similarly, the Li clan's divine ancestor was not stupid enough to devour Zhou Jie's consciousness at this time. After all, Zhou Jie's consciousness had fused with the universe origin's consciousness. If he forcibly tried to devour Zhou Jie now, Zhou Jie would give up resisting the erosion of the evil consciousness and bite him instead. Then, the Li clan's divine ancestor would not have a good time facing the evil consciousness earlier. Putting aside whether there was 100 harm or not, at least there was no one benefit. With the Li clan's divine ancestor's intelligence, of course, he would not harm Zhou Jie at this time, as Zhou Jie continued to fuse with the universe origins consciousness. The Li clan's divine ancestor could clearly feel that Zhou Jie's consciousness was trembling. Sometimes it seemed to be going crazy, and sometimes it was terrifyingly gloomy. Every time this happened, the Li clan's divine ancestor would be extremely shocked. At the same time, he was prepared to devour Zhou Jie if he failed. However, what surprised the Li clan's divine ancestor was that although Zhou Jie's consciousness had undergone many drastic changes, he would eventually persevere and return to his normal state. In the end, when Zhou Jie had completely fused with the universe origins consciousness, Zhou Jie's consciousness would fall into an extremely calm state for a period of time. It seemed that under the erosion of the evil consciousness, he would not move at all. Just like that, several years passed very quickly. The Li clan's divine ancestor was a little scared. He actually began to worry that Zhou Jie would be able to defeat the evil consciousness, truly control the universe origins consciousness, and become the Lord of the universe, the God of eternity. Fortunately, from time to time, Zhou Jie's consciousness would transmit all kinds of emotional fluctuations of pain and destruction, indicating that Zhou Jie was only bitterly holding on. There was no sign of him turning defeat into victory at all. In the blink of an eye, another 40 years had passed. The Li clan's divine ancestor was astonished to the extreme. This was because he really couldn't imagine how Zhou Jie had managed to hold on for so long under the erosion of the evil consciousness. In the end, the Li clan's divine ancestor simply withdrew most of his consciousness and returned to reality. He only left a small part behind to ensure that if Zhou Jie failed, he would be the first to know. The Li clan's divine ancestor stood up from the Star River and thought to himself with his head lowered, "The tenacity of this junior's consciousness is beyond my imagination." However, he also has the support of the universe origins consciousness. The longer he can hold on, the better. If he can hold on for hundreds of years, thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years, then I must admire this choice of his. Actually, my preparations are almost done. Running away is not a solution. Junior, if you really can't hold on, then you should get rid of it as soon as possible. If this universe is really going to be destroyed, no one can stop it. The Li clan's divine ancestor thought this way. It seemed that in the unseen world, he was also infected by the negative emotions, but he didn't know it at all. In the depths of one of the distant dimensions of the universe, there was a huge space world that had been opened up. A young man in a white robe was sitting cross-legged there, cultivating. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and sighed. As soon as he sighed, his expression suddenly changed, and then his pupils shrank. "What's going on?" The young man in the white robe turned pale with fright. Then, the space he was in exploded with a boom that only he could hear. At the same time, the entire dimension where the young man in the white robe was crazily eroded by an evil consciousness. The evil consciousness was so strong that it was countless times stronger than the universe where Zhou Jie was in. On this day, more than 300 years had passed since Zhou Jie merged with the universe origins consciousness. Zhou Jie's consciousness was muddled, and he was on the verge of falling into depravity. There was a possibility that he could lose his mind at any time. But at a certain moment, all the evil consciousness in the universe where Zhou Jie was in seemed to have been sucked out and retreated violently, gathering in the space where the young man in the white robe was in. Zhou Jie's consciousness was instantly awakened. He was a little stunned as he sensed the universe where he was in. He found that he saw everything in it. The Li family's divine ancestor, transcendent Shui Jing, the ancient divine emperor, Su Yiyu, Zhou Jie even saw the composition of all the lives in this plane universe, the collective name of the central universe and the seven-dimensional universe. From the body to the soul, from the soul to the true spirit, everything was clearly presented in his perception. Moreover, Zhou Jie found that as long as he willed it, he could destroy and reassemble any life in this plane universe, including the Li family's divine ancestor. At this moment, Zhou Jie got rid of the evil consciousness and completely controlled the universe origins consciousness, which meant that he controlled the entire universe. Is this the realm above the Saint Realm? Controlling the entire universe? But why did the evil consciousness suddenly retreat? Where did it go? Zhou Jie was puzzled. With a single thought, his consciousness came to the edge of the universe and extended outwards. He saw another universe extremely far away. So there's a place similar to my world outside of the central universe and the dimensional universe. Zhou Jie was a little surprised by what he saw, but he couldn't find where the evil consciousness had gone. He couldn't help but be a little worried. Is it over just like that? What happened? Zhou Jie thought to himself. He was silent for a long time. Finally, Zhou Jie's consciousness returned to his body and directly appeared in front of the Li family's divine ancestor. The moment the Li family's divine ancestor saw Zhou Jie appear, he was a little stunned. He had just noticed that the universe origins consciousness, or rather, Zhou Jie's consciousness, was a little strange. When he checked, he found that his consciousness was completely rejected and could no longer enter the universe origins consciousness. Just as he was wondering about this, Zhou Jie appeared in front of him. You succeeded? The Li family's divine ancestor couldn't help but ask, but in his heart, he felt that this question was extremely ridiculous. However, what made the Li family's divine ancestor feel even more ridiculous was that Zhou Jie nodded at him and said, "Yes, the evil consciousness suddenly retreated for some reason, and I successfully took control of this universe." Zhou Jie's words were very calm, but when they fell into the Li family's divine ancestor's ears, they were no less than a clap of thunder, directly exploding into his mind. Zhou Jie could actually feel all the thoughts of the Li family's divine ancestor. This made him feel that he was invincible after taking control of this universe. After being pleasantly surprised, he planned to do something. Therefore, he ignored the Li family's divine ancestor and left only one sentence. From now on, everything in this universe is under my control. You're on your own. After Zhou Jie left, he appeared in his hometown, the Wanhai Starfield. However, at that moment, everything in the realm, including Zhou Jie, fell into silence. Countless light telekinesis, which was difficult for ordinary people to detect, surged toward the realm where the white-robed young man was. The silence lasted for a while before returning to normal. Zhou Jie was completely unaware of it. Looking at the familiar scene in front of him, he slowly closed his eyes. At the same time, his consciousness began to search for Lung Shui, Er's scattered true spirit. After a long time, Zhou Jie opened his eyes and fell into silence. But at that moment, Zhou Jie suddenly sensed something. He turned around abruptly and saw a white-robed young man standing there, smiling at him. "Who are you?" At that moment, Zhou Jie was shocked like never before. He was now the master of this universe, but he didn't notice the appearance of the white-robed young man in front of him. Moreover, he was standing there, but Zhou Jie couldn't sense him. It was as if he had transcended this universe and wasn't affected by the rules of this universe. Therefore, he was also out of Zhou Jie's control. "Don't be nervous," the white-robed young man said with a smile. "My name is Jiang Qin, and I'm a newly promoted divine envoy. This time, I'm following the Supreme Kai's order to bestow you with the power of a divine plane and make you a divine plane god. As for what a divine plane god is, you'll know later." "Divine plane god?" Zhou Jie was surprised and couldn't help but ask, "Why me?" In response, the white-robed young man, Jiang Qin, raised his eyebrows slightly and said, "I don't know about this. I'm just following orders. However, since you can become a divine plane god, you must have some outstanding points and have been recognized by the Supreme Kai. Okay, let's begin." After answering Zhou Jie's question, Jiang Qin smiled slightly and then raised his hand and waved. Zhou Jie only felt an irresistible force come and take him to a strange scene world. Everything here was pure white light. There was a young man wearing a white short-sleeved shirt and black trousers standing there, less than 3 meters away from Zhou Jie, looking at Zhou Jie with a faint smile. After Zhou Jie bid farewell to the Supreme Kai's careful protection, he returned to his own universe. Feeling that his telekinesis had become much stronger, he was overjoyed, but when he thought of Lang Shuer's true spirit, his expression darkened. After becoming a divine plane god, Zhou Jie could naturally resurrect Lang Shuer, but her true spirit revolved in the True Spirit River and was randomly scattered by the universe's origin laws, becoming a component of many other life forms' true spirits. If Zhou Jie wanted to resurrect Lang Shuer, he would have to erase all these life forms that had a part of her true spirit. 3 days later, on an extremely ordinary life planet, Zhou Jie and Lang Shuer wore simple casual clothes and appeared outside an ancient village house. "Big Brother Yin, take a rest. Let me wipe your sweat." In the courtyard of a house at the entrance of the village, a beautiful young woman wearing coarse hemp clothes walked out of the house. Seeing that the man in the courtyard was tired and sweaty, she couldn't help but feel sorry for him. "No need, Qin. There's still a few pieces left. It won't be too late for me to rest after I finish chopping. I'll go sell these firewood later and bring back a roast duck for you. I remember that you used to love it the most. I haven't bought it for you for almost a year." The man wiped the sweat from his forehead and replied, "Big Brother Yun, you're still thinking about it. There's really no need. I don't want to eat it." "All right, I'll definitely buy it for you this time. It's useless no matter what you say, haha." Big Brother Yun. Zhou Jie and Su Yuyu held hands and looked at the beautiful young woman and the man being lovey-dovey. They couldn't help but smile. "After a long time, let's go back," Zhou Jie suddenly said to Su Yuyu. Su Yuyu was clearly stunned. She opened her mouth and said, "But, big sister Shui." Zhou Jie smiled and shook his head. He didn't say anything. A man and a woman, holding hands, walked in the opposite direction of the ancient village and gradually walked away. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.